So we've got our third race of the day then, not that far away, the Caterham 270Rs all here in the assembly area. If you joined us yesterday, you'll know it was a pretty dramatic race for a couple of our championship contenders. Blair McConaughey behind me is the points leader arriving here at Croft, but had a really unfortunate issue yesterday, which Blair, unfortunately has led to your first non-finish of the season. Just explain to us what happened.
I'm glad you give me the chance to walk through that nightmare. It was at the chicane, and I would typically do a gear change between the two forks, and my mistake, I went for fourth, and somehow, maybe through jostling about, however it happened, I've never done it before or in testing, but I managed to get second. As soon as I lifted up the clutch, all the massive engine braking, I'm buzzing the engine, it just, because the car's already loaded up, all that engine braking rotated the car, and I just slammed straight into the tyre rack, took the front corner off, no steering from that point on. I'm just a sledge, and poor Harry behind, he had nowhere to go, didn't realise I was slowing down so fast, and unfortunately went over the back of me and got some damage himself.
It was certainly a spectacular end to the race. It means you're starting at the back for this one then, so what's the game plan?
I don't know how hard to go in the first lap. I'm going to see what the start's like, see if there's any places I can get, but I'm determined just to fight my way through the pack gently, fight my way through, and see how far I can get. A top 5 would be fantastic, I think. A good damage limitation.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. Let's see if we can get the thoughts of Harry then. Harry, Blair's just been explaining to us from his perspective what happened yesterday. Just really unfortunate.
Yeah, really unlucky. These past couple of race weekends I've been taken out by others' mistakes, which is a bit annoying, but yeah, hopefully I can try and come up the field. I've got a bit of chassis damage, it's a bit twisted, so hopefully the handling's not too affected, but hopefully I can get in the top 10. I'll be pleased with that.
We'll let you get on with it then, Harry, because the cars are just about to be released. That was perfect timing, wasn't it? So Caterham 270R action here from the Croft Circuit, about to get underway. Scott, keep an eye on these two. They're going to be charging through from the back of the grid.
Yes, thank you, Andy. Getting set for our next Caterham race coming up now, which is our second race of the weekend for the Motul Caterham 7 270R Championship, which is seen by many within Caterham circles as the Coming of Age Championship. This is the third step on the Caterham Motorsport ladder, so drivers who have had 2 seasons worth of racing under their belt, having come up through the Academy and then the Roadsport Championship as well, as they head out onto the circuit, as they make their way around to the grid on their formation lap out of assembly area. These cars, of course, are the middle step. They have had all the upgrades that they would have through from Academy, which is mainly the Avon ZZS tyres. They have an Academy spec tyre that they run in the Academy. Then they move to the Avon ZZS, which they keep for the next 3 steps, and that car also gets a rear anti-roll bar. And then for the 270Rs, they also receive stiffer springs and dampers, a wider track front suspension, and one of the biggest visual changes on these cars is that they also lose the windscreen and the headlights. They can be reattached if you want to drive this car on the road, but for racing, both have to be taken off before you go out on track. So these cars then produce about 135 brake horsepower, 10 horsepower up on the Roadsport cars, an increased rev limit to 2,200, and also they have about 10 kilograms less of weight as well, 620, and that can make a difference, not just the wider track suspension and also the increased rev limit, the slight increase in power, the lighter weight. It all adds up to make a difference in lap time and a difference in performance. And you can feel that because these cars start to feel like proper race cars now. The Academy and Roadsport cars are do feel a bit more like the road-going Caterhams in some aspects, but now they've got these better suspension, increased power available and revs available to them. They do start to feel proper like the cars, proper Caterham race cars now. Not that the Academy and Roadsport ones aren't, but of course these ones now have the proper parts on them to make them feel like proper track machines. So the cars make their way around onto the grid for this second race of the weekend. We'll quickly run you through the grid and how they line up. So for this race, of course, the grid, as always, is set by the results of race 1. So it's Stephen Lyle, after his win yesterday, who's due to start on pole position. His first win in Caterham. Alongside him will be Carl Jones in car number 11. And it's Wes Payne in car 38, William Brunt, who enjoyed a race-long battle for third place, and that went the way of the pearlescent, rather flamboyantly coloured, liveried car of Wes Payne in third, with Brunt fourth. Max Gaunt took an excellent fifth in car number 4. He'll start in P5 alongside car 56 David Morgan. Then it's number 8 Darrell Cresswell and 43 Alan Curtis coming next on the 4th row from Dan Clayfan, car 73, and then number 14 Fraser Jones. Row 6 is Angus McLean in number 61, and number 53 Tim Steele. 52 Peter Wales and 99 Michael Curley then comes next from Oliver Smith in car 71. and the John Cox, number 31. Then it's Paul Herndon and Ryan Errol, Roger Gaunt and Craig Mingis. And then it's Duncan Cook, Harry Eyre, who's got some work to do, and he and Blair McConaughey, who made contact in yesterday's race. That put Blair McConaughey out, as also did Harry Eyre. They've got work to do from the back of the grid. Blair McConaughey being the championship leader coming into the weekend, and has been for quite a while. He's got some definite effort to have to put in from 23rd on the grid. And then Richard Hall will be 24th and last on the 12th row to get this second race underway. So, after that incredible spectacle that the 310Rs put on earlier on, the 270Rs and co, they've got some ways to try and beat that. So, last couple of cars are in position. We wait for the green flag at the back of the field by one of our fantastic orange marshals. And then all set and ready to go. Last couple of cars are in position. I think there's no Richard Hall on the grid, so I think no, he is, but it's Blair McConaughey's towards the back, and we have got Harry Eyre, but he's a little bit further forward than I'd anticipated. So Blair McConaughey at the back, Stephen Lyle, race 1 winner at the front. The second Motul Caterham 7 270R Championship race of the weekend's all set to get underway. Red lights are out, and we're heading down towards Clairvaux for the first time. It's a decent getaway from pole for Stephen Lyle, but it's a slightly better one from the outside of the front row from Carl Jones. Heading into third place is Wes Payne, as he slots in ahead of William Brunt into Clairvaux for the first time, and it's Jones that leads then. It's in Lyle in second place, Wes Payne third, Brunt is fourth, Gaunt is fifth. They're all going to wiggle their way through. We'll also keep an eye on the white car with the black nose at the back of the grid. That's Blair McConaughey. He won't stay there for very long as he turns out through Hawthorns onto the back straight for the first time. Everyone's getting through the S's nice and cleanly, nice and safely. All good so far. Onto the back straight they charge. And already it is side by side for the lead. We're looking at Tim Steele battling with Michael Curley. But for the leaders down towards the tower, it will be wheel to wheel for position. And Stephen Lyle's got himself back in front. So Stephen Lyle then back into the lead off the start. A couple of battles further back as they scrabble for position mid-pack out of tower. Now through with Jim Clark S's, and here are the leaders. Lyle is back in front then from pole. He managed to squeeze back past the tower corner. Carl Jones in second place in car 11 there, the black car with the green roll cage, and the West Payne car 38, which looks white from this distance, but it's actually kind of a pearlescent type sort of effect on that car for third. William Brunt fourth, and then fifth and sixth are together as they head out through the Sunny complex into the complex here for the first time. So Carl Jones putting Lyle under pressure already, but now he's having to fend off Wes Payne as they turn back in. As for Blair McConaughey, where's he got to on his first couple of laps? He has moved up 2. He's going past, further back in the pack, past 31. So car 31 on the grid was John Cox. So he's got past the first 3 or 4 rows ahead of him. He's up to roughly roundabout. That's about 16th or 17th place already. So good progress made as Lyle leads the way across the end of the first lap. It's Carl Jones in second place, William Brunt in third. He's actually taken third place from Wes Payne, exiting the final couple of corners. So Payne's back in front now and into fifth position, has gone. I think that's Curtis Jones, so it's Fraser Jones. So Fraser Jones is now into fifth position. So the Joneses are now in second and fifth at this point in time. Max Gaunt's been shuffled down to sixth, although he's having a good scrap now with William Brunt at this point in time. Also watch out for Peter Wales in car 52. He's in the mix there. He's in the black car with the orange roll cage, challenging the Gulf-coloured car of William Brunt in front of him. And Max Gaunt in front is the blue car with the yellow roll cage. Diving down the outside position is Peter Wales. He takes another place away from Brunt, who's been shuffled down to the bottom of the top 10 quite quickly. He's now got the 43 of Alan Curtis in his sights, and behind him is Dan Clayfan. So all sorts going on towards the second half of the top 10. But for the leaders, it's still Lyle versus Jones at the front of the field on this second lap. It's another half an hour race, so 30 minutes for these Caterham 270Rs to circulate Croft Circuit here in North Yorkshire. There goes third and fourth. There's Payne, then Jones, Max Gaunt in fifth, sixth now for Peter Wales. Strong start for Peter, up in P6, seventh place for William Brunt. But it's Curtis, Clayfan and Errol to round out the top 10. Wind their way through complex for the first time. Then what about Blair McConaughey? Whereabouts is he? He's got past a couple more cars. He's now trying to work his way past. I'm watching Tim Steele just out the commentary box window. We're looking at our scrap now that's going on for fifth place downwards. Stephen Lyle on the first proper flying lap takes the fastest lap of the race on 34.755. So he's got the pace at the moment as they head down towards Clairvaux for the third time. So as for Blair McConaughey, he's now up into 14th place. So he's managed to work his way through, and even ahead of Harry Eyre, who is only made as high as 18th. So not as much progress as he would have wanted to have made. But as they come back through the first couple of corners, it's now still going to be Stephen Lyle trying to pull away. We're watching the battle for fifth. There's now Max Gaunt coming under threat from Peter Wales. Gets the good run off the court down the back straight towards Tower. He'll go down the outside. He's done this once. Looks to the outside again, and Max Gaunt lets him through. He'll try and fight back on the exit because yes, you're on the outside line, but the tracks you can get on the race, off the racing line, could be a little bit better if you pick the right spot. And William Brunt's back in there as well. We're looking back to our leaders again. Still Lyle from Jones, no change there. The gap is about 5.5 to 6/10 of a second at the front. It's then Wes Payne holding on to third. Fraser Jones is fourth, and Max Gawn is at the head of that group, scrapping over fifth place. Turn their way out of the sunny corners again. So Wells takes up the mantle as the head of that group now. He's got past Max Gaunt down the outside into Tower Corner. So all as well at the moment in line astern. Just in there, I think, just behind Dan Clayfan is Alan Curtis, isn't it? Yeah. So there goes Dan Clayfan. He decides to go on the attack up the inside of William Brunt to make the move, and that's going to be 4th, 7th and 8th, and whoa, William Brunt gets onto the grass, puts the power down and finds he's got less traction than he was hoping for, and now he's got Alan Curtis to his inside line to charge past, lose him another spot. So sadly for William Brunt, he's now marching his way towards the back of the top 10, and the car that will catch him soon is going to be Blair McConaughey, because he just set the fastest lap of the race, 1:33.885. He is a full second faster at least than everyone else in the pack. So Ben McConaughey, if he can get himself to the front, I'll be very impressed. Speaking of the front, I can see the top two are quite close, but we're now watching still Alan Curtis fending off a resurgent William Brunt, who's trying to recover here as best he can. But of course, the fact he's got some very, very fast guys behind him trying to close him down will be certainly of immediate concern. We've got Ryan Errol and David Morgan not too far away, as also Blair McConaughey in 12th place. So watch out for him in car 34. Leaders then back out through Barcroft, that very fast right-hander, and then again into the complex of Sunny in and Sunny out. And into double right-hander, and back onto that short straight towards the complex again. So Wes Payne's trying to go with the top two here. And for 4th place now, it's going to be Fraser Jones ahead of... Well, they've changed around now, so Fraser Jones is up to 4th now, but he's being caught by Max Gaunt, who is back ahead of Peter Wales. That's changed back around again. And then we should have Dan Clayfan, followed by Alan Curtis. Then we've got William Brunt. And also in there now, we've got Blair McConaughey just watching him on screen here in 12th place. He's just behind Ryan Errol in 10th in the green car, number 33. And David Morgan in the silver car with the black nose and the orange roll bar. That's David in 11th place. So Blair McConaughey's got the pace, but he needs to start picking off the cars in front of him that are now lapping on a similar pace to him at the moment. 4 laps in the books now. We've still got 23.5 minutes to go in this race. Thumping over the curves. That big bump on the apex of Kirkcliffe has been catching out so many drivers time after time. And now they come up through Hawthorns and into the S's once more. This is lap 5 now as they come back onto this back straight, and they charge down towards Tower once again. So the lead gap is about half a second between the top two at the moment, but there's plenty of battles going on mid-pack, so take our focus for a moment. Just keeping an eye out my commentary box window for our top two. They're just going through Jim Clark S's now. They are nose to tail, and they have got Wes Payne not too far away from them as well. Here they are on screen, and here comes up the inside Carl Jones. He looked up the inside at Barcroft, but again, that wasn't really going to work, as given that such a high-speed corner. So he settles back into line as they turn in through Sunny in. Remains in the position through Sunny out, and Wes Payne's in there too. A little wide for Stephen Law, kicks up the dirt as he goes on the exit. You've got to be careful of those exit curves, because we've seen them smash off rear wings on these cars on more than one occasion. Look at that. Big move up the inside line for Carl Jones. They just about touch wheels. Super clean but tight racing. Wheel-to-wheel stuff through the complex and into the hairpin. Wes Payne fancies a piece of this too. He's looking to the outside to get the undercut exiting the hairpin. He gets a good run here, which he does. He pulls alongside on the exit of Carl Jones, who was wide on the exit of the hairpin. Through to second base he goes. So a smart move there from Wes Payne. It all started really from Stephen Law running wide on the exit of Sunning out. Then the opportunity where Carl Jones went for it down the inside line. They went wheel-to-wheel into the complex. Little touch of wheels, but they was nice, clean, fair racing other than that. And then they were so focused on each other that Carl Jones was so looking too far ahead that when he looked to his left-hand side, he saw Wes Payne charging past him. I think that's Dan Clayfan there, as we saw we're going through the right-hander, with a bit of damage to the nose. So that won't be helping his aerodynamics, nor his cooling. Now there's yellow flags on the exit of Hawthorns, or there were at least, and there are still yellow flags there. For what reason, truthfully, I'm not sure, because I can't see a car that's pulled off. So, oh no, there is a car by the barriers. Forgive me, there is a car by the barriers. I'll catch you. I think it might be John Cox in car 31, because his car's up against the barriers unless somebody else has stopped. And whether that's a legacy of that contact which I think Dan Clayfan's had on the front of that car, or whether it is Dan Clayfan's car, but the car's overheated due to the damage on the front end, because the radiators are sat right at the front of these cars, so if you bump the nose too much you can dislodge and damage the radiator. We saw that with Pete Walters earlier on in the 310R race, where the damage he sustained after contact in a lead group meant that he was forced to pull off and retire from the race with a non-score due to his car had been getting a little bit too hot. So, quick progress check for Blair McConaughey. He's now managed to pick himself past Dan Clayfan and then also Morgan. I think the car has gone off. It looks like it is actually John Cox in car 31 there, so that's the car that we're missing on circuit, because that car's dropped down to the tail of the bottom of the timing tower, so watch out for that. Lyle turns his way through with damage to the left rear then, so what if that little tap between himself and Carl Jones was what dislodged that left rear wing. Although that said, it did happen a couple of times to a couple of drivers where, because it's such a steep edge of the curb when you go over it on the exit of Sunny Out, it can damage, even throw off those rear wings if you're not too careful. Take it further back here, this is the 74, that is 73 Dan Clayfan battling with David Morgan. It's a good run, and despite the damaged front end on that car, it's got enough speed and enough momentum off the S's down the back straight in the toe, squeeze past on the inside line, and then Morgan will try and fight back. It is Clayfan's corner, and he slots into now 10th position. That's into a top 10 spot for Dan Clayfan. Meanwhile, leaders are back through Barcroft into the Sunny Complex, and Wes Payne is now the main pursuer of Stephen Lyle. Stephen Lyle, of course, became very close to his first win before yesterday at Brands Hatch, when he was beaten to the flag on the run on the run to the line on the last lap at Brands Hatch by Carl Jones. He snatched it just at the line by a mere few thousandths of a second, whereas here at Croft, Stephen Lyle was able to put that right and take his first Caterham victory. So there is on screen watching is Blair McConaughey. He has now got past Alan Curtis. He's now up into 7th place. His next target will be P6, and that will be William Brunt. To be fair, the pace he's setting, looking at his last lap time, was a 34.568. He's lapping on leader pace, because the leaders are doing 34.1s. Blair McConaughey then lowers the fastest lap time even further at 133.8. He really is flying along at the moment, at least 3/10 quicker than the rest of the pack in front of him. And the lead is only 6.9 seconds away from him. So if he keeps on this pace, keeps on racking in some quick laps, there's nothing to say that he couldn't catch the leaders. He's got plenty of time. He's got just under 18.5 minutes to go. Dan Clayfan's car there with the front nose section just hanging, looking a little bit bedraggled as the one portion of the nose starting to just sort of curve up a bit thanks to the aerodynamic pressure on the front of the car. He's now just behind Ryan Errol. That's a scrap for 9th. Here's our leaders again up through the complex. Whereas Payne's last lap was only half a tenth slower than Stephen Lyle's. So Lyle will be hoping to score some more strong points to push him a little bit higher in the championship, whereas Payne will also want to try and do the same. Coming into the weekend, it was Stephen Lyle and Wes Payne were tied on points on drop scores, both on overall and drop scores coming into the weekend. But Lyle will have managed to pull a couple of points back on him from yesterday's win, whereas Wes Payne, of course, finished in 3rd. So there is a bit of a points difference there. Blair McConaughey came into the weekend leading the championship on drop scores, but I'm sure with his non-finish yesterday, he will get some points back due to the virtue that they do drop a couple of their worst scores in this championship, so drop scores are very much in effect. Equal lap times or so from the top 3, all did 1 minute 34.1s. And as for Blair McConaughey, so did he. He was 6/10 quicker than William Brunt, but he was about 10,000ths of a second behind him. So that would suggest that he was putting him under pressure and possibly trying to get through, heading into the right-hander, which he has. So Blair McConaughey's up another spot. That's him up into 6th place. So his next target now is going to be breaking into the top 5. The first of those targets will be Max Gaunt in 5th position in car 4. There is Blair McConaughey to the right shot on the live stream. Car 34, the white car with the black nose, championship leader coming into the weekend on drop scores. Wants to try and preserve that as much as he can, as our leaders then head out of Tower Bend. Watch them going through the Jim Clark S's, and Stephen Lyle still being put under pressure here and being kept honest by Wes Payne. And Wes Payne has won a race before in Caterham's previously, but hopes to try and get to the top step again. He had a bit of a unique paint job last year. He had a promptly purple pearlescent paint scheme. But he's done something a bit more extravagant for this year's livery. He's going to try and make a move here. He's all over the back of Stephen Lyle into the complex. So Lyle just playing the defensive card, trying to put the car in the middle of the road to stop either Payne or Jones trying to get through. Back into the hairpin go the leaders. And also, interestingly, in the space of literally less than a lap, it's taken Blair McConaughey to get right onto the tail of 5th and 4th position. So he's up the inside now of Max Gaunt to get the run off the corner. And already by the time they get to the line, he's in front. So there's our top 3, with Wes Payne putting Stephen Lyle under pressure. There goes the top 3. The 4th place should now be, I think, Fraser Jones, and then Blair McConaughey. Yes, into the right-hander they go. And Blair McConaughey's up another spot and sets another new fastest lap of the race, 1:33.674. So if he can manage this will be one of the drives of the weekend from Blair McConaughey. And he's still got half the race to go. He's picked off all but, what's that now, 4 cars in front to in order to get himself into a strong podium place. And there he goes, charging past Fraser Jones, easy as you like, into 4th place. Meanwhile, the leaders are going to be... there's been a change for 2nd place because Carl Jones has gone charging past Wes Payne into 2nd place behind Stephen Lyle. So there's been a change for them. But up into 4th now, and leading this group is Blair McConaughey. And I wonder now with the pace he's got, either he's too strong for them or he will bring them with him to make it an even bigger leading group. But my guarantee has to be, with the pace that he's currently setting and the fact that he was only 5.7 seconds off the lead and he's lapping about 7 to 8 tenths to even a second a lap quicker than the cars in front, he will catch them in the next few laps. That's a guarantee, I'm sure, unless there is any kind of issue. Round the outside for the lead comes Carl Jones on Stephen Lyle. His first major attack he's been under, but now looking for the switch back on the exit. Carl Jones tries to put the car right on the exit of the corner, which he does. Stops Stephen's retaliation dead in its tracks. And so as these 3 continue to fight here, watch for the white car Blair McConaughey in 4th place, which would be just behind these 3. He's really trying to pull away from Fraser Jones. As Stephen Lyle here comes back under threat from Wes Payne. And now, basically, Wes has seen how Carl Jones has managed to do it, so he's going to have a go for 2nd place in a moment. So, Jones, Lyle, Wes Payne, and there's Blair McConaughey in 4th then. So 4th then trying to close back in. The gap is down to 3.6 seconds. So, look at the last lap times. Carl Jones' last lap was a 34.9. It was 36.2, 36.1 for Lyle and Payne. McConaughey was on a 33.7. He's on fastest lap pace, lap after lap, which is pretty incredible. Lyle gets back into the lead down the back straight at Tower Bend, holds the line. Payne goes back through into 2nd place at the expense of Jones. So in the space of 1 straight, Jones has gone from first back to 3rd again. And the pace advantage that Blair McConaughey has over everyone means he's completely dropped the scrap that's going on for now 5th place between Fraser Jones, Max Gaunt, William Brunt and Alan Curtis. So that's going on from 5th down to 8th. So there is 14, which is Fraser Jones. He's leading that next group now that Blair McConaughey's broken away. Now I'll be intrigued to see how much the gap has closed in this time by, as that 2nd group goes through the Sunny complex and back into the complex. Once more, this is lap 11 in this race, and visibly McConaughey's just about there. There he is, the 4th car in shot, going through the car shot now, the white car number 34. That's Blair McConaughey, and I remind you, he started 23rd and last at the back of the grid. So this will be literally the drive of the season for him if he can hold on to this and actually make it happen. He's right there. He'll start to get a tow now from the 3 cars in front. Across the line they go. Lap time wise for the top 4. Let's have a look at it. Well, Lyle leads. And it's another new fastest lap of the race for Blair McConaughey. 33.4 now. 1:33.465. And there he is, look, car 34 on stream. Blair McConaughey, the Flying Scotsman. And certainly, he's put himself right into contention here. He really could win this race if he gets an opportunity. So, possibly side by side for the lead now between Wes Payne and Stephen Lyle. We're looking back at Max Gaunt versus William Brunt on the stream, but I can see the change for the lead happening here on screen. It's down the outside, looks Wes Payne. Lyle fights back under brakes and keeps his nose in front as they turn into Tower Bend. But now, not only is Carl Jones back in there, but so in that lead group is Blair McConaughey. He's in that lead group now. It's not a leading trio anymore, it's a leading quartet. There on screen is the battle for 4th down to 5th, 5th down to 8th position. Here's Stephen Lyle, however, out through Barcroft. He's got a tiny gap, but just to his left on screen, if you're watching the live stream, is that battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. And Payne has it at the moment as they turn him through Sunny in and Sunny out. Blair McConaughey's there too. Now then, is this going to be the cork in the bottle? Is he going to find a bit of a more challenging time here getting past these 3 cars, or can he pick them off one by one in order to get himself to the front and do a real back to front job? into the complex again. Top 4 altogether. Blair McConaughey then on the back of Carl Jones to put himself into a podium place. Wes Payne takes the wider approach into the hairpin to try and get the undercut if he can. Was forced to take the wider line, and now Blair McConaughey with a great one off the corner. Now he's in the slipstream. He will go for 3rd place on Carl Jones. Which way will he go? Jones will stick the car right to the inside of the circuit unless he has to go to the outside to take the racing line. For the lead, however, in front. Wes Payne looks to the outside, under brakes on Stephen Lyle. Into Clairvaux they go. Lyle holds on, and Blair McConaughey goes sideways and he spins! Oh, Blair McConaughey loses it. Blair McConaughey, after all that hard work from the back of the grid, still at 10.5 minutes. It's not completely over, but he quickly gets it going again. He just hit the bump on the inside over the curb and round it went. So, recovery drive take 2 for Blair McConaughey this time. Now, if he can manage it, 10.5 minutes to go in this race. How much further can he get back up the oar? He's going to do it all over again. He's back in 8th now after he had that spin, but he was so close. That had to be agonising for Blair. He wants to try and pick up as many points as he can after he DNF'd yesterday. Every single point for him will really count in these last 3 meetings here at Croft. Then we've got Snetterton in a few weeks' time, and then a couple of weeks after that, the season finale at Cadwell Park. He really has to take every single point that he can to hold on to the championship lead, particularly when drop scores come into play as well. So less than 10 minutes to go then. Into the final third of the race comes the race leader, Stephen Lyle, with Wes Payne on his tail. Carl Jones now unchallenged in 3rd place after the threat that he had earlier on. But I imagine the pace that Blair McConaughey has, I mean, again, he was lapping at least a second quicker than everyone else. I suspect he might have time to possibly do this, but even if he can get past the 3 or 4 cars in front, it's going to be a challenge. Now, he's already... Okay, well, he hasn't caught the 4 cars battling over 4th, but them scrapping amongst each other will certainly help him. And then again, he's not too far away from the cars in front. If he can still do this, I'll be absolutely amazed. But it's going to be a very tall order for Blair. On screen, watching the cars for 4th down to 7th, battling away in that quartet. Leaders come back across the line with 9.25 minutes to go. So Lyle still leads. Payne in 2nd place. Carl Jones is 3rd. Fraser Jones is 4th, followed by Gaunt, Brunt and Curtis, and then the recovering Blair McConaughey in 8th. And you'll be having bad memories about that turn 1 at Clairvaux. And again, it's that curb and that bump on the inside line. I know we keep talking about it, but it's been catching so many drivers out on so many occasions, whether it's a cage from a Fun Cup or a City Car Cup car. Drivers, no one series has been immune to that bump and that inside curb at Clairvaux. Meanwhile, Max Gaunt, who was watching the scrap that's going on between our leaders, was 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Behind them, Max Gaunt's gone round the outside of Fraser Jones to take 4th again. So Max Gaunt has gone back up to 4th. Fraser Jones is in 5th. Then it's Brunt, Curtis and the recovering Blair McConaughey. And he's not. And looking outside the window, going as they go out of the Jim Clark S and towards Barcroft, he hasn't caught back up to them. He's trying, but I think the fact that those 4 cars in that group battling for 4th down to 7th are in that big group and getting one big tow, it hasn't really helped him. He's getting close now, so maybe through some of the faster corners and the under brakes he's a bit stronger. But again, what he has to do now is really pick these cars off very quickly, one by one. They're going to go back into the complex, all 5 together now, because McConaughey's on the tail of that train for 4th position. And his tail will be up now, as he's going to try and pick them off as quick as he can, try and get back to these front 3 who are not too far away. Now, his first target is going to be Alan Curtis, but Curtis will be helped by the fact he's got a tow from William Brunt. So McConaughey will get a double tow down towards Clairvaux. Here they go. Top 3 again through the right-hander. Went for 4th with a wide for Wes Payne on the exit of the right-hander at Clairvaux. Bumping over the curb was Max Gaunt. Through the dust on the camera, we're seeing Max Gaunt just holding on to the position. McConaughey still hasn't got past Alan Curtis, so he's still in 8th, but maybe down the back straight he might get a chance to pick off at least one of these cars in front. Not quite close enough, but we'll wait and see if he can make any headway here. And the 3 cars that are about to go into combat over 4th might well help him. So up the inside shoots Fraser Jones, and he has gone for the move. And Blair McConaughey, goodness me, that was off camera, but he took 2 cars diving last minute into Tower Bend. That was a superb overtake. It's a shame the cameras missed it, but still, massive dive up the inside from Blair McConaughey up at Tower Bend from nowhere, and caught both William Brunt and Alan Curtis completely off guard and went from 8th to 6th in one move. He is not hanging around. He wants to get back to these front runners as quick as he can, but he is running out of time. 6 3/4 minutes to go. Wes Payne holds on to 2nd place, still chasing down Stephen Lyle, who will go for his 2nd win of the weekend, of the season and of his career in Caterham's. So they come back into the complex again, top 3 as they were. Now for the 4th place group, where's McConaughey? Well, he's got past now Fraser Jones. Now he's getting past Max Gaunt quickly. He'll try and get past as quick as he can, and he's not over, because if Blair McConaughey can get past Max Gaunt here with a good run off the corner, which looks like he has got in the slipstream, he's going to try and line him up here, and he's going to try and do what he tries to do to Carl Jones if we can get in the slipstream. Let's try and stick with this if we can. So battle for fourth is on then. Down towards Clairvaux, look to the inside line. And is he through? Looking at the commentary box window. Yes, he is. He's through this time right. So Max Gaunt lets Blair McConaughey slide back through. Now then, with less than 6 minutes, can he catch the top three again? Let's watch for Blair McConaughey, car 34, championship leader, the white car with the black nose and the black roll bars. Watch for him now in fourth place. He's now under attack from Max Gaunt, which is the last thing he needs to try and catch up to them. He might well have to try and defend here this time by. On the stream, Blair McConaughey then under threat from Max Gaunt again, who he's just passed into Clairvaux. But 5.5 minutes. Now the gap between now fourth and third is 5.3 seconds. That might be a bit too insurmountable for Blair McConaughey to try and get back past. And what's not helping him is that he's under threat from Max Gaunt behind him, who's not leaving him alone now that he's passed him. So McConaughey's got to get his foot down here. He's going to have to put in some superhuman lap times to catch up to these guys, and even hope that the top three close back in again and start to fight, or he's hoped something happens between the top three in order to help them out. What hasn't also helped this cause is that the top three, all in that last lap, set personal best. They were all 34.0s, the fastest of which by a fraction or so was Carl Jones. So the top three are back together again. That will help him a little bit, but even so, 5.3 seconds with only 4.75 minutes to go. That seems quite an impossible task, but nothing's too impossible. But Blair McConaughey will certainly give it a red hot go, but he'll be cursing himself for making that mistake when he tried to pass Carl Jones, just bumping the inside curb, and as a result of that, that is just where it really didn't work out. So up now towards Clairvaux again. What's the gap now? It's still 5.3 seconds. So his last lap was a 34.098. So he kind of, anytime he lost trying to battle with Max Gaunt, he's now managed to get it back by getting past Max and then putting in some quick lap time. So, but that gap is, looking at visibly out of the commentary box window, looks a little bit too big. He needs the cars in front to really start to hold each other up. But if he can, he'll try as hard as he can to close back in. Watching on stream now, we've got William Brunt now battling away with Fraser Jones and Alan Curtis out through the right-hander, and Brunt gets a good run off the corner. Now side by side, looks one way then the other, but Fraser Jones is going to hold firm as he goes through the Jim Clark S's nose to tail. Looking at there, I think that's Max Gaunt, who we're looking on stream now in 5th position behind McConaughey. I'm going to check his lap times. They're going to have, I think, possibly 3 more laps, I think, maybe. They might have time for 3 more, I think. Depending if they can cross the line before we get to about rest line, it's going to be close. Maybe 2 more laps, maybe 3 if they're quick enough. We'll have to wait and see what the timer says when they come through. Now, McConaughey has pulled away from Gaunt, but again, he's not catching the top 3 quick enough. Again, it's a case of what might have been. If he hadn't had that spin up at Clairvaux, he would have been in that mix, and certainly, I'm sure, would have been leading, and it would have had a gap on the 3 cars he's trying to chase down in these closing stages. He'll be kicking himself for that, but that's motor racing. Those sorts of things happen, and he is desperately trying his hardest to try and keep in the mix here. Blair McConaughey then, new fastest lap of the race, 33.2. He was basically a full second quicker than anyone else, but as try as he might, he'll need to try and take at least, 2 seconds a lap out of them in front to try to even get close enough to make an attack, more than 2 seconds per lap to try and get that done. That will rely on the top 3 holding each other up and just slowing each other down, but at the moment, they're still running at a pace that suggests they're not going to do that. It was a 34.1 for Lyle last time by, 34.3 for Wes Payne, 34.2 for Fraser Jones, and the 33.2, the new fastest lap of the race, as we mentioned, for Blair McConaughey. He's in no man's land now. He's got that gap to Max Gaunt, so he's not under threat from him anymore, not giving him a tow. But again, just not close enough to the leaders, who, as you watch now, are still pretty close for first and second. Now, if these 2 scrap on the last lap, it'll bring Carl Jones back into play, but of course it means, though, well, if a mistake like that, it'll certainly bring Wes Payne back into play. Stephen Lyle was a little wide on the apex, and look, it is bringing Carl Jones back into the mix. So a mistake there from Carl Jones on the first apex of Sunny Inn brought Wes Payne back into play, and because Wes Payne had to slow up to avoid getting to the back of him, it's brought Carl Jones right in the mix. So into the complex for the second to last time. McConaughey's there in the background if you're watching on the stream. It's the white car that flashed through the top of the shot, but again, he's just not closing in quick enough. He needs these guys to either really hold each other up on this last lap, or, not that we want to see it, something to happen between the 3 if they come together, but that's a big if. So onto the pit straight, 1 more lap to go then. Lap time wise, how are they looking? Well, it's Blair McConaughey across the line, and he does a 33.1. He's pushing like crazy 2.9 seconds is the gap now between himself and third place. He really is going for it, but it's going to be, I'm afraid, too little too late, I think. He'll have to settle for fourth off the podium, but again, credit where credit's due. One of the drives of the weekend so far. Just that one little block in his copybook in this race, having that spin at Clairvaux, but hats off to Blair, championship leader, driving essentially for not just a result, but essentially to keep his championship lead. He's doing ever so well to close back in. He'll get very close, but just not close enough to make that move. He managed to pull back 1.5 seconds on that last lap because the cars in front did 34.6s, 34.7s. He put in a 33.1 to get that fastest lap of the race. So, leaders then, up through Barcroft for the final time. Stephen Lyle's holding on and resisting that pressure from Wes Payne in second place. Carl Jones is still in third, but looks like Stephen Lyle with just a few corners to go will hold on for the moment, unless Wes Payne's going to try and get him on the run out of the final hairpin. Carl Jones will stick close in second place, and what are Blair McConaughey's chances? What could have been? Wes Payne just looking to the outside. Might have a last opportunity to try and sweep around if he can, but Lyle again puts that car right in the middle of the road to stop any chance of Payne getting through. Out of the complex, into the hairpin for the final time. One last look for Wes. Can he get the undercut, exiting the left-hander? Turns to 180 degrees and back onto the pit straight. He will try and get in the slipstream, but it might not be enough. He'll close in, but it's going to be too late, and it will be a double here at Croft for Stephen Lyle in the 270R Championship. Stephen Lyle wins race 2 with a fantastic effort. Second place for Payne, third for Jones, where Blair McConaughey sets another new fastest lap of the race at the end of that, but unfortunately has to miss out on the podium by 1.6 seconds, but he will be absolutely gutted at missing out. But again, a proper drive from Blair McConaughey, and again, if you're around the circuit, please give them a round of applause. That was another brilliant race, particularly for Blair McConaughey as well, and the top three. Brilliant driving all around from everyone involved, and top-class racing from start to finish from all of them. Cross the line for the rest of the order. It's Max Gaunt in 5th, Fraser Jones picks up 6th, but it's Alan Curtis in 7th place. 8th place goes to William Brunt, 9th for Dan Clayfan, and 10th for David Morgan. And well, as a small consolation, at least Blair gets to overtake them on the slowing down lap. He got past Fraser Jones, but unfortunately, races forever, so it won't quite count towards the end. But again, he'll get just the personal satisfaction of getting past them on the road. Rest of the field comes through. Congratulations to all of our 270R drivers. Again, like the 310R drivers, they'll be back out for their next rounds coming up at Snetterton, and that'll be at the beginning of October, so they've got about a month to wait until their next round. The next Caterham action, of course, is going to be the top-level Caterham 7 Champion UK, which will be appearing on the Alton Park support package for the British GT Championship, but that's then. This is now, and here's the confirmed provisional results. So Stephen Lyle wins by 0.3 of a second from Wes Payne in second place, Carl Jones in third, and Blair McConaughey, what a heroic drive from the back of the grid to what could have been a win, has to settle for fourth after that spin. Matt Gaunt 5th, then it's Fraser Jones 6th, Alan Curtis, William Brunt, Dan Clayfan and David Morgan rounding out the top 10 minutes. Harry Eyre, who couldn't rise higher than 11th, he was really off the pace and had to settle for outside the top 10. Michael Curley was 12th from Peter Wales, Tim Steele, Oliver Smith, then Craig Mingis, Darrell Cresswell, Roger Gaunt, Paul Herndon, Richard Hall, and then Ryan Errol, the final finisher. We lost Duncan Cook in the closing stages, and we also lost John Cox, who was parked up at the barriers exiting at Hawthorns. The fastest lap of the race, of course, went to the charging Blair McConaughey, 133.105. So as a consolation, he will at least get a bonus point for that as well. He'll get just as many points as he would have done having scored third place. So, well done to all of our Caterham 7270R drivers for an excellent display of driving. Next up on the timetable is our second race of the weekend for the Caterham Roadsport Championship, sponsored by Mission Motorsport. That's coming up very shortly, and I'm sure we'll be hearing hopefully from Andy McEwen down in assembly, so stay tuned. More Caterham action from Croft here with the BRSEC and Caterham Motorsport on its way in just a few moments' time. 270Rs are done and dusted. Next up, it's Roadsports here in Yorkshire.
As that 270R race comes to a close, then we look forward to more Caterham action next. It is the Caterham Roadsport Championship, which sees a continuation of this brilliant Taylor O'Flanagan and Tom Cockerell championship battle. It was Taylor that was victorious yesterday, and as such extended his championship lead by just a handful of points, but there's still next to nothing in it. It's going to be another thrilling race as they both try and get one up on each other in the quest for the 2021 championship. Scott, over to you.
Thank you, Andy. Yes, indeed. We're getting ready for our next race on the timetable here on this Spear SEC Caterham Race Weekend in association, of course, with RunYourFleet.com and, of course, Caterham Motorsport as well. We've had the 310R ranks, the 270R ranks we've just seen on stream as well. Next up, it's time for the Roadsport Championship. These drivers are fresh out of the academy from last season, and, of course, in their second season of racing. This is a championship that is exclusively for a combination of either drivers straight out of the academy and also for novice drivers as well. Now these cars are a small upgrade from what the cars that they would take out of the academy, and the only upgrades that they really get from Roadsport is just a new set of tyres, because they get a new set of Avon ZZS tyres as an upgrade, and they also get a rear anti-roll bar as well. And that increases the grip and reduces body roll, which is particularly roll-on oversteer, which you might get from the more simpler road-based suspension, and also, or the academy spec suspension, if you like, or the more basic suspension that they have, and also the academy spec tyre that they have. So the Avon ZZS tyre is a tyre that they carry all the way through Roadsport 270 and 310R, those next three steps on the ladder, before they then move up to the Caterham 7 Championship UK, where they have a purpose-built chassis with dedicated slicks and wet tyres. So do watch out for how these cars handle in this particular race. But yeah, these cars now, pretty much in terms of spec, practically identical to the Academy car. The difference being that rear anti-roll bar and the tyres. They have about 125 brake horsepower, 1.6 litre Caterham-tuned Ford Sigma engines. The cars weigh about 630 kilograms. Road suspension, an open differential, and a 5-speed gearbox with a maximum RPM of 6,800. So they are proper little machines, and it's not uncommon that you do see some cars that some drivers do the proper old school method of driving their cars to the circuit, race them, and then driving all the way back again, provided they're in the same condition that left them when they came back to the circuit. So these drivers are pretty special in terms of the way they can drive these cars. I've seen academy drivers do it, and even Roadsport drivers can do it, and even as high as 270 and 310s. Of course, when you put the headlights and the windscreens back in, you can drive these cars ultimately back on the road. So it's quite smart to see how they progress, and it's great to see that the Caterham Roadsport has got a really nice crop of post-academy drivers that have graduated all the way through from last year's phenomenal pair of Caterham Academy Championships. So the grid for this second Caterham Roadsport race, again, is determined by the results of race 1 yesterday. And it's been a back-and-forth battle between last year's two Academy champions, Tom Cockerell and Taylor O'Flanagan. Taylor O'Flanagan took the victory yesterday, so he will start on pole position in car number 11. Alongside him was his main pursuer in the end. That's car number 25, Dominic Mansberger from Germany. And Tom Cockerell was about 6 seconds off the lead in the end, in third place. He will start from the second row, hoping for a better afternoon today. Gwyn Jones starts alongside him on the second row in car 97. Next, then, behind him in row 3 is Alex Vincent in car 17, and Andy Lunn with a decent start in 6th place in car number 2. Steve Lancaster and Hugo Bush comes next. Hugo Bush had to recover after a little bit of contact earlier in the race, which then saw him slide down to 8th position in the end. Then it's 9th place on the grid for Ryan Lovett, and rounding out the top 10 is Christopher Broom, followed then by Ron Mounsey and Ian Hapgood on the 6th row of the grid. Row 7 is James Hall and Andrew Berg. Then it's Sam Gibbons and Kevin Turner on row 8. Row 9 is Simon Arnold and Adrian Mariadis. Chris Griffith and Nick Timpson rounds out the top 10. So the top 20, sorry, on the 10th row, with Nick Timpson trying to make up some spots after he retired yesterday. And also there were problems for Marcus Eels and Peter Mott, so they will start at the back in cars 6 and 96. So this race, slightly shorter than the 270R and 310R races, 20 minutes in length, and so slightly shorter, but now the same race lengths as the Academy drivers from the races that they had last year in 2020. Last couple of cars put themselves into position. Green flag will fly at the back when they get the signal, and then the 5-second ball will go up, and once again we will go Caterham racing here at Croft in North Yorkshire, waiting to get the signal. Green flag at the back. Let's go racing once again. 5-second board is up. And can Taylor O'Flanagan make it another win here in Yorkshire, or will the likes of Mansberger, Cockrell and Co. try and take it from him? Lights out, and we go racing in the Roadsports. Decent equal start from the front row as they charge down towards Clever for the first time. On the inside line from pole is to Taylor O'Flanagan. On the outside is the black and green car of Mansberger. Wheel to wheel into Clervo into turn 1, and it's going to be O'Flanagan who turns in with the whole shot. They pour in together, all 22 of them. A couple of cars running wide, and one car goes spinning in the mid-pack, car 20. That is Chris Griffith, I think, that went around, and he just about survives that. Did a complete 360, cast that one way then the other, and somehow got away with it, practically unscathed. That would have given them a fright. Anyway, down towards the right-hander at Tower Bend, down the back straight for the first time, and the leader's already getting into it. And Flanagan leads, but now Mansberger having to defend the inside line, going into the middle of the road to stop either Cockrell or Gwyn Jones getting past, and also a fast start for Alex Vincent. He's up into 5th place in car number 17 as he started back in position 5 as well. So top 5 pretty much as they were from the grids. They come up through Jim Clark Hess, up through Barcroft for the first time. Apart from 1 or 2 mishaps in the mid-pack, everyone seems to have got away from that relatively unscathed, which is good to see. So Flanagan already trying to start to build a lead here if he can, up through the right-hander, through Sonny, in, through Sonny, out and wide on the exit there for Dominic Mansberger. And again, he's lost a rear wing already, so we can tend to watch out for those steep drop on those curbs on the exit of Sonny. And you can see there that his driver's left, he's lost his rear wing. Has he got lodged in the... I thought he's got one of the marker boards. He's got one of the marker posts. If you look at Dominic Mansberger's front end of his car, one of the marker posts is lodged in between the suspension. You'll see it in a second. He comes past the pits. I might get a proper look at it as he comes down towards Clervo. Leaders then down towards turn 1 again at the first proper flying time. So it's going to be O'Flanagan at leads, Mansberger in 2nd place. Then it's Cockrell 3rd, Jones 4th. Alex Vincent 5th, Steve Lancaster's up to 6th, 7th place for Hugo Bush, up 1 place from where he started. Andy Lundy's 8th, then it's Ryan Lovett and Chris Broom rounding out the top 10. Now if we get a shot of Dominic Mansberger's car, you'll see that there's a lodged in marker. Whether it's disappeared or not, we'll have to wait and see. But through the S's they go, one after the other. There's Hugo Bush going out of shot, and then behind him we've got Andy Lund in the black and orange car number 2, being followed by Ryan Lovett in car 38. But down towards the complex they go. And Mansberger getting close. Can't get a proper look at the front end of that car as Gwyn Jones holds off Alex Vincent. Steve Lancaster also in the sort of pale yellow car in car 49, not too far behind in 6th position. Bush, Lund, Lovett and Brim also closing in. But you might just be able to see the little orange, the piece of orange that's just sticking up at the top of the bonnet of Mansberger's car. There's the marker board you can see, and he lost it here. There, you can see it just there, look. Just in his front suspension, there it is, look, just lodged in between. He won't go that wide at Sonny out once again, will he? But he's going to try and get back in the mix. He's not slowing him down either, because he's keeping with in amongst both O'Flanagan and Cockrell. So the 2 Academy champions sandwiching Mansberger here as they come out of the complex again. They're trying to drop Gwyn Jones here in 4th place, and he's falling backwards behind Hugo Bush, who in turn is having a dive up the inside of Alex Vincent. He takes a position. He goes up now into 5th place. So up to 5th has got Hugo Bush. Vincent will try and retaliate on the run back down the pit straight towards Clervo for the 3rd time. And also in the mix we've got Lancaster and Lund going at it for 7th and 8th. Lovett is 9th and Broom rounds out the top 10. And it's Hall, Mounsey, Gibbons, Berg, Turner, Hapgood, Timpson, and Arnold, Niels, Mariadis, Mott and Griffith. They're all still going, so all 22 cars started, all 22 still running, which is happy to see. So we're all in one piece. Now for the lead, it's getting very close because Mansberger's got the run now down towards the right-hander at Tower. Powers down the outside line. They're going to be side by side. Cockrell watches on in 3rd place in the red and white machine, but into Tower they go, and Mansberger still with that the orange marker post attached. He's right on the tail of O'Flanagan here. And of course, much better pace from Cockrell this time after he lost out a little bit. I think he did get a little bit tangled up with Hugo Bush yesterday, which is the reason why he dropped back. But ultimately, it was a scrap between them two that just out of Tower Bend, they just locked wheels, and there was no damage, it seemed, to either car. But the only one that kind of really had lost time was Hugo Bush when he dropped down to eventually 8th place, whereas Cockrell could keep his 3rd place, but was a few seconds back. There is Hugo Bush in the grey and orange car, just on the stream, on 5th position, chasing down Gwyn Jones. Meanwhile, around the outside for 2nd place of the complex is Dominic Mansberger, whose nose has now fallen quite ajar on the front of that car, in car 25. That will certainly won't help his aerodynamics whatsoever. It now decides to dislodge itself completely, so at least it'll get some extra cooling. But it doesn't look. It looks like when you. It looks like the car's when you see in the front like its skull, like its face has been ripped off. But not an unsightly thought you want at all, but it looks rather odd. It's a bit like a skeleton at the front, doesn't it, without the front nose? Anyway, first, second, and third all together. Then Hugo Bush is fourth. It's then Gwyn Jones in fifth. Rest of the pack goes streaming through. We've got Ryan Lovett and Chris Broom in ninth and 10th respectively as they turn out through Hawthorns. So I'm intrigued to see how much, if at all, the loss of that nose slows down Mansberger. As I say, a silver line to that is at least he's got some extra cooling, but won't thank the lack of straight line speed that this car will have lost. So in through the right hander. I can't believe he's still carrying that marker post. I'll be quiet about it now because I've been on about it for the first part of the race anyway. So top five are going through the left hander at Jim Clark S's, then through the right. So it's still O'Flanagan that leads by 0.6 of a second. He's now got the top two drivers not just battling for the championship, but also the two Academy champions from last year, who are once again locking horns on track now that they've graduated as respective Academy champions. Now they're going for just one title between the two of them, and that'll be quite crucial. As there is Mansberger's car. I can't help how that looks with the front nose has been lodged off now. So still carrying on though in third place. It's not the most attractive thing without the front nose, but form of a function in some cases. Fourth place still for Hugo Bush is in there. He's passed Gwyn Jones. He's going up for third place. Decides to completely bamboozle Mansberger up the inside and sneaks through into third position. Mansberger will try and fight back. Ooh, and Hugo Bush wasn't quite fully alongside. No, there was contact. And look at this Hugo Bush's car. That's the right rear wing that's rubbing against the tyre now. So contact there with Hugo Bush. Really, I think to be fair to him, that was kind of his own doing. He didn't have to move across a Mansberger like that, but he moved across a Mansberger. There was a bit of contact, and because of that, Hugo Bush's car, you can see that the right rear wing is rubbing against the tyre, so if it's not careful, if that doesn't kind of rub the bodywork away from it by itself, you might even find yourself with a bit of a cut tyre or a puncture in some cases. So you've got to be very careful of that. Mansberger will come back at him. Might not have appreciated that little bit of contact between the two of them. Bush will try and defend the inside line. He slots back in instead behind the German. So everyone's getting all arms and elbows at the moment in this early part of the race. Haven't hit halfway just yet, but still the race carries on. So up through the Jim Clark S's again. We're now looking at Taylor O'Flanagan with quite a lead now, just under half a second between the top two. Tom Cockrell keeping up the pursuit in second place, and then third place still for Mansberger with Bush trying to chase him down. So top three together as they won, not as they were on the podium, but as they did appear on the podium yesterday. And it's Bush then under threat from Gwyn Jones, gets that run into the complex now for the on the inside of Hugo Bush into there, and still Bush holds on, but Jones is big up, massive under threat. The second group of cars, which is now headed by Alex Vincent, and by Chris Broom with Lund, Lovett and Chris Broom, currently rounds out the top 10, but now Flanagan will get a proper chance here to try and make a move on Tom Cockrell as they come up towards the end of the circuit at Clairvaux. Back in the slipstream over that curb. Mansberger holding on to third place. A bit of a gap to fourth now as Hugo Bush and Gwyn Jones holding on to fourth and fifth at this point. Turn their way out of Hawthorns now up through the back straight now, and Cockrell will get a chance to try and get past in the slipstream here down towards the right-hander at Tower Bend. He gets the toe down the outside line. They're going to be side by side, but two outgoing Academy champions going wheel to wheel into Tower Bend. And still, Flanagan holds on to the lead from the front of the grid. And Mansberger in just third place, just keeping a close watching brief as they turn out through the Jim Clark S's side by side again. And Flanagan again keeps his nose in front, but I think because Cockrell thought about making a move and then backed out of it, has now got Mansberger all over him for second place. Just trying to find them on the camera shot. That's the scrap for fourth going on. That's Hugo Bush versus Gwyn Jones as they come back into Sonny in and then Sonny out. And as for right now, I saw him flash through the shot. There has been a change for second as well because Mansberger is past. There he is, car 25 with no front nose and that front marker, that orange marker post lodged in his suspension. Might not be the prettiest sight, but it's certainly doing the job at the moment in second place. He's doing a fine job to try and keep with Taylor Flanagan down the pit straight. He will now try and get the toe up towards Clairvaux again. Look at his screeches of tyres as the cars are winding their way out through the complex back onto the pit straight as we come up towards half distance. So O'Flanagan, Mansberger, Cockrell, that's the top three still. Cockrell with unfinished business here. He'll try and close back in to get a move. He can stay close here through the right-hander of Hawthorne and out through the S's. He'll have a great chance to get back in the slipstream and cruise past Mansberger, potentially trying to break him down into the complex. At this point in time, though, Mansberger's got the toe on O'Flanagan. He will go to the outside this time, but again, O'Flanagan very, very smart driving there, where he put the car practically in the middle of the road, then just drifted back to the racing line into the braking zone to make sure that he could defend and basically corner off any chance of an opportunity that Mansberger and Cockrell might have had. Getting closer again through Jim Clark S's and through that sequence of corners. Again, Mansberger got close with the momentum he could carry, but then through Barcroft he backed off a little bit, and that's now put Cockrell back into play here as they come back into the complex of Sunny in. Turn right again, through Sunny out, mind the curb on the exit. It's caught Mansberger out more than once so far in this race at this stage. And now we come back into the complex again. So O'Flanagan, Mansberger and Cockrell. That's still the top three, covered by, it's less than 0.8 of a second now. It was 0.8 of a second across the line, but it's definitely less than that. Meanwhile, behind them, Gwyn Jones has got past Hugo Bush for fourth now. So Gwyn Jones is back past Hugo Bush into P4. The leaders go back down the pit straight again with 8 3/4 minutes left on the clock. Rest of the top 10 is Alex Vincent in 6th, Andy Lund in 7th, Ryan Lovett in 8th, and it's Steve Lancaster ahead of Chris Broome to round out 9th and 10th places. So no change in the order just yet. 8.5 minutes still to go in this Mission Motorsport Caterham Roadsport Championship race. And Mansberger got a really good run off of Tower Corner, and no section or not, he's going to have a great chance to go down the outside here, down towards Tower Corner. Side by side for the lead, diving down the outside and even getting himself in front into the braking zone before he even turns in. And it's now Dominic Mansberger's turn to take the turn in the lead here. Meanwhile, Hugo Bush has a late dive into Tower at the expense of Gwyn Jones, but Jones holds on and maintains 4th position, but he hasn't shaken off the 22 car just yet. So now for the first time in this race proper, it's going to be Mansberger that heads for Flanagan. Flanagan, I think, will be the first time he won't need a lap in this race. And now he'll have also Tom Cockrell to think about, because Tom is right on his tail as they all make their way through Sunny in and Sunny out again. This is on lap 8 of this contest, and now with a good run off for the second part of that Sunny complex, now he tries to put himself alongside to the outside line for the first part of the complex, looks for the switchback as he goes to the second part. Cockrell goes right round the outside and almost found himself with an opportunity to get through, but Flanagan just shut the door quick enough to stop any kind of chance that Cockrell might have had. And I'm going to keep an eye on the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th, because that's got Gwyn Jones with Hugo Bush over him, and watch Alex Vincent as well, who might get a chance to get past. But nonetheless, this is now going to be a great scrap going on between the top three. Still Mansberger holding off Flanagan. Now, rather than being the hunted, he's now the hunt. Flanagan is now the hunter, because he's the one that's having to do the chasing here to try and close down and repass Dominic Mansberger if he can. But Dominic will certainly want to get a victory. He had a bit of a turbulent weekend at Brands Hatch. Didn't quite go his way, and he felt a bit disheartened after it. But if you can pick up a win, that will certainly bring his spirits back up. And he'll certainly, I'm sure, be the happy and smiling and enthusiastic Dominic that we usually know in the paddock. He wasn't quite himself at Brands Hatch after some 1 or 2 incidents he was involved in. 4th and 5th though are still close. Gwyn Jones and Hugo Bush, and just keeping an eye on this battle for the lead on screen and down at the Sunny corners as they come back down through Barcross. If you're watching down on track, so you can see them as they turn in through the first right-hander, then the short little straight, and now into the second right-hander. See the marshals down the inside of the circuit watching on. Big thank you to all the marshals watching here, and all our volunteers and all our medical crews and recovery crews for all their hard work. 6 minutes to go. I'm sure they're watching a very entertaining race between these three at the front. Even though it's not the biggest pack, all it takes is the top three to keep together and have this really close race. It is always entertaining to watch when these Caterhams get together and have a brilliant battle at the front of the field. Now, one car to watch has got to be Tom Cockrell, because I suspect he's keeping his powder dry for a moment. Now he's going to go on the attack for second place. The two Academy champions in 2020 are now side by side on the run down towards Clairvaux. Mansberger's getting away here. Now Cockrell looks to the outside line. Flanagan will try and outbrake him, or he was going to try and do that, but Cockrell goes sailing around the outside, and into second place he goes. So Tom Cockrell then gets past his fellow Academy champion from last year, drifts out wide through Hawthorns, and Flanagan says, cheers mate, back up the inside I go, back into second place. But if he gets a better run off the corner, Cockrell will try and get him back here, and look at that, Flanagan knows that he's going to try and come back at him quick enough. Down towards Tower they go, closes in even faster, closer into the braking zone, but no, not quite into Tower this time. He will stay in third place. Behind for fourth on screen, we can see Hugo Bush again going on the attack for Gwyn Jones. As Alec Vincent watches on in car 17, he's having a great run in sixth position. Still Andy Lund in seventh place from Lovett, Broome and Lancaster, as our leaders go back out towards the top end of the circuit through that very fast right-hander of Barcroft and back into the complex. And Dominique Mansberger putting a grand job in. Usually we've seen him sail away when it's been quite wet, no pun intended, but in the dry conditions he's been getting much stronger, and he's usually strong in the dry anyway, but usually when it rains he pretty much is, to coin the German phrase, the Rainmeister. He's doing quite a fine job at the moment, and just holding on to take a race victory of his own. Now into the complex again, and now down the pit straight to end another lap. 4 minutes left in the books in this second Mission Motorsport Caterham Roadsport Championship race of the weekend. Dominique Mansberger looking for victory. Taylor Flanagan wants his second. Tom Cockrell wants his first in a while. There is Tom. And then further back, there's 4th, 5th and 6th together. So Hugo Bush is trying to pull a gap now on Gwyn Jones. A little wide through the apex there was Hugo. That will bring Gwyn back in, as it will also Alex Vincent, and also watch out for Andy Lund as well. He's not too far away in 7th place. We believe though they're going side by side down towards Tower Bend. Watch for this. Here comes down the outside for Taylor Flanagan. Oh, Tom Cockrell's off the road. Tom Cockrell, there must have been contact between possibly either something's happened to Tom Cockrell. Either there was contact. I was watching the stream to see what was happening, but Tom Cockrell off the road. He's parked it right just down at the against the barrier where the Rallycross circuit is. So Tom Cockrell then, dramatically, one of the championship contenders out of the race then. He's parked the car way off the road, so it shouldn't be a yellow flag of any kind, I don't think. He's way out of any danger, but it now means that as Taylor Flanagan takes the lead here at Croft Circuit, back into the lead once more with Mansberger in second place, that scrap between Bush and Jones now becomes a scrap for the final podium place, because Tom Cockrell, rather heartbreakingly, is out of the race. Now, I wasn't sure if he clipped a curb, he clipped a tyre stack or something, but it looks as though that whatever happened, he wasn't far behind the top two. I think it looks like he might have done it by himself. So whether he's clipped something himself that can run wide, I'm not sure. But I did see the aftermath where I saw the top two go through, but then I was wondering where Cockrell was. He was quite far back, and that's the reason why. So sadly, Tom Cockrell, then car 59, the red and white machine, which is now parked against the barrier near the Rallycross circuit, is sadly out of it, I'm afraid. So now, with 2 minutes and 20 to go, it is Flanagan versus Mansberger. And now, right all the way back now, to hear this fact for now, what is now, I think if they've probably worked it out, or they might not work it out until the finish, the battle of a third place now between Bush, then Jones, but now also Alex Vincent, and also count in Andy Lund and Ryan Lovett. So it's now going to be a 5-car scrap for third place. Excellent stuff between these two, between these 5 cars at the front. Hugo Bush has the run down the back straight. Here comes Gwyn Jones to the outside in car 97. The red car with the black bonnet looks to the outside. Hugo Bush defends, puts the car in the middle of the road, turns in through Tower Bend, through the right-hander. Vincent gets closer. Now we're watching out the back of the circuit, waiting for our top 2 to come into sight, I believe. Or that will be our scrap for third, won't it, coming through? So there's Hugo Bush going through Jim Clark S's. And now Alex Vincent's joined in too. He's just behind Gwyn Jones. He's closed in, so he's just there to the left a shot, just behind the timing tower, hiding. Car 17. The sort of grey and green car that's in the mix. Our leaders, meanwhile, are side by side into the complex, but with O'Flanagan still with his nose in front. We're still watching on stream the battle now for third place between Hugo Bush and Gwyn Jones, with Alex Vincent watching on there in P5. A little wayward there off the apex there was Alex. He lost a bit of time to bring Andy Lund and Ryan Lovett back into play, but here's our top 2 with O'Flanagan back in the lead. They're going to start the last lap of the race now, 58 seconds on the clock, and now it's a chance to Flanagan to see if Mansberger will try and get back past Flanagan. He needs to try and keep close as much as he can to try and get a move into Tower Bend. For third place, meanwhile, it looks as though I think Bush has pulled away a little bit from Gwyn Jones. He's now got a gap of about 0.4 of a second, so we'll have to wait and see if he can close back in. Meanwhile, for the leaders, Mansberger, he's right there. He's got a great run off the S's down towards the complex. We're waiting for the cars for third place to come through of Bush and Jones, but now down towards the complex here at Tower Bend. Down the outside goes Dominic Mansberger, going for the lead to Tower Bend round the outside. Can he hold on to it? The answer is just about yes, but he's got the inside line for the first part of the Jim Clark S. We're watching on stream the battle for third between Hugo Bush and Gwyn Jones. Jones looks down the outside into the right-hander, but Hugo Bush holds on. Meanwhile, Mansberger has completed the move, and he's into a lead on the last lap. Half a lap to go, with a car that's got one rear wing missing, the front nose missing, and the one orange marker post lodged in the suspension. You wouldn't think it was a race-winning car. It might not be yet if you can't get it to the flag in front. But now through the right-handers at sunny in and sunny out. Mo Flanagan right on his tail. We could be in for a grandstand, typical Caterham photo finish here. Into the complex for the final time. Mansberger with Flanagan all over him through the left-hander. Turn right, stick to the inside line, back on the power again. Flanagan is so close. Can he get to the undercut here into the hairpin for the last time? Can he get a bit of traction down the pit straight towards the checkered flag? There's a car off the road in the background as well. We'll get to that in a second. But as the checkered flag, it might not be over. Oh, Flanagan missed a shift. He's not going to get it. Down towards the checkered flag. Dominic Mansberger takes victory in race 2 in the Mission Motorsport Caterham Roadsport Championship. Tenor Flanagan was denied, it looked like, by a missed shift on the exit the final corner. He will be kicking himself for that, but second place is still very strong for his championship chances. Third goes to Hugo Bush. I'm sure he'll realise it was third just about in a second. Fourth for Gwyn Jones, fifth for Alex Vincent, and it's Andy London sixth, Ryan Lovett seventh, and then Chris Broome, Steve Lancaster and Nick Timpson rounding out the top 10. Nick Timpson will be happy with that. From towards the back of the grid, I think he was 20th on the grid. He finishes up in 10th position. We passed half the field to get there. We're looking here at Adrian Mariadis with a strong drive, also to 14th, ahead of Simon Arnold, and Kevin Turner back in 16th as well. So excellent racing. That'll be crucial though for Tom Cockrell, losing out after retirement in that second race. Dominic Mansberger will be a very happy German driver back in assembly area in Park Fairman, because he will have taken victory on the road, at least and outright, from Taylor Flanagan on pure dry pace alone. So he'll be absolutely delighted with that, and I'm sure they'll be springing his step once more. So Dominic Mansberger takes victory then. Across the line they go. And at the end of it all, a magnificent way to finish off today's Roadsport action. There's still 3 more races to go today, which is for our Caterham Academy drivers, and of course in between that we've got our second Nankang Tyre City Car Cup race of the day as well. So stay tuned for that if you want to tune in for the last 3 races of this afternoon. So, excellent stuff from all involved in the Caterham Roadsport Championship. Congratulations to everyone that made the flag. We lost to Kevin Turner at the end of the pit lane. We also saw Sam Gibbons retire towards the end of the race, and of course Tom Cockrell's car, which is now moving again under its own power, but obviously not at 100% health, it looks like. So he will try and at least bring that car back around again. And in come our race winners. I think Tom Cockrell was driving it on the grass by the barrier before he comes in. Right, on stream, here's confirmation of that provisional result. So Dominic Mansberger wins from Taylor Flanagan by 0.8 of a second. Hugo Bush picks up the final podium spot from Gwyn Jones in 4th. Alex Vincent picks up 5th from Andy Lund, Ryan Lovett, Chris Broome, when it's Steve Lancaster and Nick Timpson. Then Ron Mountsie finishes 11th from James Hall in 12th. Peter Mott and Adrian Mariadis come next from Simon Arnold, Andrew Bergbaum. In Hapgood, then Marcus Eagles, Chris Griffith, and then Kevin Turner, who finished in the pit lane. So he did finish the race, I think, but he came in the pit lane in 20th, and then sadly we lost Tom Cockrell, crucially, one of our main championship contenders, and Sam Gibbons. So you will have to use that as a drop score going into the mix, into the last couple of meetings at Snetterton and then Cadwell. So, more Caterham action coming up shortly. It's the first of our Academy races coming up next on the timetable, so stay tuned. There's more Caterham Motorsport action coming up with the white group in just a few moments' time. It's going to be a cracker to watch these rookie drivers get in the mix here at Croft. Stay tuned.
Well, a dramatic Caterham Roadsports race there then, and that problem there for Tom Cockerell could prove to have some real championship ramifications as we move into the final part now of the 2021 Caterham Motorsport season. The same is true of the Caterham Academy Championships, both the white and green group out racing here today. The white group, in fact, are the next cars due out on circuit. They've got just 3 races left in the championship, 1 today and 2 next time out at the Snetterton finale, and it couldn't be much more finely poised in the championship. It's William James that's got the points advantage by just 1 point though, and he is not here this weekend, so this will have to become his dropped score for the round. That then opens up the door for Harry George and Charlie Lauer, who are not that far behind him in the points. George, as I said, just 1 point behind him, to try and take some points out of him, and those two are starting on the front row of the grid. It's set to be a really exciting race, this one. Scott, over to you.
Excellent, thank you, Andy. Yes, our next Caterham action is just about to get underway very shortly with the first of our 2 races for the Lovecars Caterham Academy, which is our least experienced and our least experienced rookie drivers on the grid. And the first of our 2 groups, as there are so many that sign up for each year's academy, they have to split them across into 2 groups and therefore 2 separate championships within. So the first of which is going to be the white group, who will be in action here this afternoon, and of course we're going through their grid very, very shortly. So, just to reiterate for those who are in the Academy, the Caterham Academy essentially is a series that is only for rookie drivers only. You can't have ever held a competitive racing licence before you join the Caterham Academy. The whole package is around about circa £30,000, but you get the race car, you get all your race entries, you also get your track and test days and your drift days and handling days all thrown into that as well. And then when you start the season, when you get your ARDS test, as everyone does in the academy together, do their ARDS test together to get their racing licence. They then do group test days and track days, and then to start the season, they will start them off at a sprint at places like Kerborough or Aintree to get themselves ready for competitive action. Then once that's out of the way, then they get them onto the circuits, and they've raced so far this year at some great circuits, such as the likes of I think Donington Park, it's been Mallory Park to start their season. Knock Hill in Scotland was one of them as well. They've also been to the likes of Brands Hatch and Brands Hatch. Silverstone also on the Grand Prix circuit was quite an experience for them. Now they come to Croft this weekend for their first taste of a North Yorkshire circuit, which should be quite intense. And Andy McKeown, you've been doing a lot of running around this afternoon, so it's good to have you back in the seat with the commentary box. This is a special moment for these guys, of course. Every time they visit a new circuit, it's always a brand new experience for them. They're going into the unknown. But that's what makes it so exciting and fascinating for them to go into a new circuit, to learn the nuances of what Croft Circuit's about. And for them, it's all vital education for their next few seasons going into Caterham racing, should they choose to continue into Roadsport 270 and 310R. Because what they learn here, they're going to take with them for the next 3, 4, 5 seasons in Caterham racing, and then beyond if they move on to other races at further afield, such as high levels of racing or other championships within club racing itself. It's a very vital championship in many cases. I call it the Formula 4 of sports cars. It's got lots of similarities between that and the single seater championship. Lots of similarities in terms of how it teaches car control, all sorts. It's a really special championship for those who've never raced before, and it really does bring in some fantastic young drivers, well, various ages of drivers of varying experience levels once they finish.
Yeah, I mean, this is, for most of these drivers, their 6th ever motor race that they're about to go into. They really are learning right in front of our eyes, and I find that fascinating. I love watching junior categories of racing for the same reason, because you really see drivers coming on stronger as the year goes on, and there will be some that take to it really quickly and they're bang on the pace right at the start of the season. And then there are others that maybe take 2 or 3 races just to sort of get to grips with the car, build in confidence, get stuck in a bit more, and then they start to score the points as the season goes on. Case in point is Charlie Lower, who is 3rd in points here coming into this weekend. Started off the season really well with a win, but that was in a sprint, and then as far as the races were concerned, it took him until Silverstone 2 races ago to get his next victory of the season. So Charlie is clearly getting faster as we go into the 2021 season, and there are others as well who have just now started to challenge for podiums and top 5s as we get deeper into the campaign. So I love watching their progress, and racing here at Croft, I'm sure they're going to learn an awful lot, because it's a really challenging, bumpy, unforgiving circuit, the likes of which arguably they haven't really raced at so far. Yes, Knock Hill, where they raced twice earlier on this year, that's definitely a challenge, but this one, a much more high-speed circuit really, so this is something new, I think, for all of them.
Do you know what else you're going to love as well? On main scores, William James leads the way with 141 points, 1 ahead of Harry George 140, and then 136 for Charlie Lower. On drop scores, all 3 are tied on 97 points each. So that makes it even more intense, of course, because when drop scores come into play, it makes it that little bit more there's a bit more maths, a bit more calculations to get involved, and the strategy of kind of picking the results and making sure that you get the results that you need is very crucial, particularly when you get to the latter end of the season, like you're coming here, when quite literally every single point has to count and is crucial. And of course, in some cases, if you have to rely on your drop scores, you have to hope that the results that you've got throughout the season, as you get towards the top end of the year in the final few races, you have to hope the results that you've got through the year are good enough to carry you if you need to rely on them. Otherwise, some drivers have to only gain back less points than they could do if they get worse results towards the end, and that can really hamper the chances of some drivers. It can literally be a point or two difference between winning the championship and missing out and being second or third. It really is that close.
No, it absolutely is. And what's interesting is that William James, the championship leader, I don't think is here this weekend, is he? So this will now become his dropped score. Now, okay, he can fall back on that drop score, of course he can, but it means he can't now at Snetterton next time at the finale afford to have a bad race. So Harry George and Charlie Lower, they really need to score big in this race. And also Giles Perry, who's not a million miles back in the championship, if they can score really well, if any one of them can win this race, really puts some pressure on William when he makes his return, we presume, at Snetterton next time out.
Absolutely. Last couple of cars getting in position. Quick run down the first few rows. Harry George will start on pole with Charlie Lower alongside him. Giles Perry and Gareth Lucas are next on the second row. Then Tom Noakes and Mike Banton from Benja Headley and Mark Januszewski, and Simon Patel and James Moon round out the top 10. And just in time as the green flag flies, and we're all set to see some of our rookie drivers within the Caterham ranks get underway. The penultimate round of the 2021 Lovecars Caterham Academy White Group Championship all set to get underway. One more race before the finale at Snetterton in October. Who can take the top spot and the maximum points? Red lights are on. Who can win the sprint towards turn one? Let's find out. Decent start for the first couple of rows. It looks like the Harry George from pole position has managed to get himself away pretty cleanly as they head down towards turn one for the first time. 20 minutes of racing for the Caterham Academy, in towards Clairvaux for the first time, and it will be, by the looks of things, Harry George that leads it then. The rest of Farthill goes piling through, one or two drivers going a little bit wide, as you'd expect with these rookie drivers. They turn in through the right couple of corners. Oh dear, two cars in contact, 67 and 74 involved. So 67 is Enel Patalia, and it's also Julian Roebucker involved in that. So those two cars coming to blows, but they will get, the both look as though they've got back underway, even with a little bit of damage as a result of that. But down towards the complex for the first time, and looking around the outside is Charlie Lower, former lead on Harry George, and also in there watching on is car 71, which is Giles Perry. He started third, but going good to will with Gareth Lucas and Tom Noakes. So already some frantic battles at the front, but this is the great thing. They're learning, literally watching them learn and develop before our eyes, and so that's quite a frantic start, but you can tell from when they started in the season to where they are now that they've learned a lot in those races that they've run to be able to get a clean start towards the front, pick their way through in the opening lap and survive it so they can settle in to try and pick off the battles that they want to get position.
But now they've got to learn where can you overtake, where is it important to defend. This again is something new for them. They've done testing, they've been out in qualifying, they've not raced at Croft before, so the top two, Harry George, Charlie Lower, they're nose to tail, but Charlie will be thinking, right, okay, where can I actually attack for the race lead? Well, apparently into the complex is somewhere that he can attack, because he's all over the back of Harry George as they wind their way through here into the hairpin and back out the other side. The safety car, I think, was just on standby there in case we needed it for this first corner shunt, but I think both of those cars managed to drag themselves out of the way, so it pulls into the pit lane, the field continues on its way, and Harry George will lead the opening lap of the race then. Second place is Lower, but look at Giles Perry, he's really closed in on them in the second half of that lap. They were further ahead of him, I think, as they went through Tower half a lap ago, and he is now starting to close back in on those top two. George and Lower start really scrapping, and Giles will be well and truly a part of that fight.
Absolutely. So out through the S's then for the second time. A little slide, I think, for Harry George, and that will certainly give the opportunity for Charlie Lower to try and make a move. He's going to put himself wide outside. Oh, goodness me, there's been an incident up at Hawthorns. Two cars are off in the barriers. Another one came across on the incident and sideswiped the front of the car that went off. So that will certainly be at least a safety car, if not, I presume, possibly a red flag, because there are two cars that are stranded up at Hawthorns. That I think will be at least a safety car that needs to clear them up. If not, they'll have to stop this race, I think. So that's it. That's the kind of downside of the rookie drivers, of like these guys in their first season, is that unfortunately there are points when you have to find the limit, and unfortunately when you do find that limit, sometimes you overstep it a little bit too much, and stuff like that can happen. But it's all part of being a racing driver. Just unfortunate that some of these drivers that get caught up in that incident when they were hoping for a clean race to get through, but sadly some of these drivers haven't quite had the great start they had, and as we predicted, Andy, red flag, which is no surprise. So it's unfortunate, but again, you have to remember, these are rookie drivers, they're learning as they go, so you don't get through a rookie season without making one or two incidents, no matter how big or small. So that's just part and parcel of motorsport.
It is, absolutely. It looked like it was the 13 of Robert Beek that was pointing the wrong way up there at Hawthorne. We've also had the 19 of Chris Roberts recovering, and I think that was Alan Bateman, number 23, that I saw going down the back straight. That is, oh, there's another one, isn't there? The number 64 is Richard Lawrence. So 13 Robert Beek there with the damage to the left front. Lawrence's car in the background pointing the wrong way as well. Tricky part of the circuit, that though, because you're fully committed into Hawthorne. And from these sort of low-slung single-seaters, you probably can't see far around Hawthorne as you commit to it, because they've got that big tyre stack on the apex. If you're surrounded by other cars especially, you will have no idea if someone's spun in front of you, and as they then come across the outside of the road to try and get out of the way, that does unfortunately put them right on the racing line. So it's not an uncommon incident, and unfortunately that's been quite an expensive one by the looks of it. Lots of damaged cars, and a number of them I think will be heading straight for the pit lane now to try and get their repair work started. Although whether they'll be able to get into the resumption of the race, we'll have to wait and see. But the main thing is I think the drivers were all out of the cars. There's a lot of fluid on the track look up at Clairvaux. Now that's actually before where the incident was. I noticed there's some fluid through the complex just behind us as well. So I think that might have been from the lap 1 incident maybe, because I did spot 1 or 2 cars limping around even then.
Yeah, there might be Anil Patalia or the other car that was involved, which was at car 77, I think, which was Arnold. So no, sorry, it was either I think it was either Roebuck or Patalia that had the fluid that's gone down. I think you're absolutely right. The content that they have means that there's possibly some fluid going around. There was also a car that was going slower towards the back, and that was the 77 of Lyndon Arnold. So I think he must have got involved in something as well. But unfortunate to see. But the main thing is that all the drivers that are involved in the incident are at least able to get out of the car on their own power, and that's the main concern. Because of course, that's the main thing in any kind of incident. So the cars have been pulled onto the grid now, because they haven't completed 2 racing laps when the red flag came out. They will grid them up in their original qualifying order, which means that Harry George and Charlie Lowe will be back on the front row of the grid together. So anyone that lost positions, it's a double-edged sword, but anyone that gained positions on the first couple of laps is going to have to go back to where they started originally and do it all over again. And at the same time, it's a saving grace for those who lost positions, because if you lost places on that first lap, you get to start back higher up where you were before. So there's 2 sides to it depending on your situation on those opening couple of laps, but ultimately it's a chance for these guys to take a breather and to give it another go after what was a very energetic first lap and a half to get these guys underway, and it gives you a chance just to breathe, let some of that adrenaline flow out a little bit, and then calm down a bit until they get back up racing again, because that's all about it. Once you get in that first couple of laps, when you're in the pack, you can feel everything's pumping, and it means that you're really sort of on edge trying to get yourself around the pack. But it gives you a chance just to calm a little bit and just reset and go again, and hopefully keep themselves out of trouble this time.
Yes, that's the theory, anyway, isn't it? But yeah, that's in fairness, the top 4 runners at the point of the red flag were all in grid order anyway. You had to go down to Tom Noakes in 5th to find someone that actually lost ground, and he lost 2 places. So Tom, I suppose, will be fairly happy with the opportunity to try this again. So the cars then gridding back up again for this race restart. The top 4 runners actually were in the exact same order they were running in at the time, at the start of the race. So George, Lower, Perry and Lucas didn't really gain any ground or lose any. You have to go back to Tom Noakes in 5th place to find someone that did lose a couple of spots. He was running 7th at the time of the red flag. So he, of all people, I think will be quite happy to get a restart, get a second opportunity at this. They're already gridding the cars up as well. So I think the anticipation is that this isn't going to take too long to get the race back underway. So waiting for the recovery work to be done, and this gives us a good opportunity, doesn't it, to thank our very hard-working volunteer marshals who are hard at work out there, and without them we couldn't enjoy this sort of motor racing, and they've done a fantastic job all weekend long. They had a couple of incidents to deal with, haven't they, over the course of the weekend, and they've dealt with them as well and efficiently as we'd expect them to.
Absolutely, and we can't ever fault our Orange Army. They do a fantastic job. We have to remember, of course, in that sequence that, as you see them hard at work here to clearing up the incident up at Hawthorns, and that's a good sight to see that all the drivers involved are at least walking around with helmets off out of the cars and appear to be on the surface okay. Any incident, they'll always go to the medical centre to go and be checked over by the the chief medical officer and their team to make sure that they are A-OK after any incident, however big or small. Bit of a clear up as well going on to try and make sure the entire circuit's cleared up. A couple of the maintenance and recovery teams out there to kind of clear up any debris or any fluid that's on the car after the impacts. But yeah, absolutely. The Orange Army are, for me, in terms of marshals, they are the best in the world, genuinely, because they're so well trained. They get refresher training every year or so. They really do get so much training. They get all the different techniques that are put in the mix, different new techniques and new training methods and new kind of procedures that have to be trained on as well. They all get taught them every single year. They get refreshed to make sure they're up to date. And the quality of marshalling in the UK is so good that they get invited not just places like the British Grand Prix, but to further afield events in Europe and America, even as far as Abu Dhabi for the Grand Prix over there. That just shows how much quality there is within British marshalling talent in terms of those who are come on these weekends. I know we say it every single time, but it really is true. Without the marshals and all of our volunteers and officials know to give it their time to be here, genuinely, these meetings can't happen. They really can't happen because they are a vital part. They are. It's a thing which is said often, but it's never a true word said. They are the lifeblood of race meetings and the motorsport in the UK, and without them, we wouldn't be sitting here talking at a race meeting because it just simply wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, most definitely, and we, as I said, are eternally grateful for all of the hard work that they do and will continue to do, I'm sure. They're stood out there in all weathers. Thankfully, this weekend it's been pretty pleasant, but they're just as enthusiastic, sort of, even if it is wet and windy and cold out there, which has been known on the odd occasion in British motorsport. I couldn't help but smile to myself just then. We got a great shot of the cars on the grid from the pit wall, I think, and a lot of the drivers, not all of them, but a lot of them are using the opportunity. These cars, of course, all carrying registration plates, and using that as an opportunity to tell everyone what their nicknames are. Now, whether they came up with these nicknames themselves or whether it's what the other drivers call them, I'm not too sure, but there were some particularly amusing ones that I spotted out there, and that sort of does indicate, doesn't it, the fun and enjoyable nature of getting involved in Caterham racing, because it is a big racing family, and because drivers tend to stay in the Caterham Motorsport family for year after year after year after year, they get to know each other, and then they actually become really quite close over the years, and the longer that they continue racing, the better they get to know each other, and you do get that real camaraderie as you walk through the paddock. And as I was doing so earlier on this afternoon, they're all laughing and joking, they're all meeting up, having a cup of coffee with each other, and talking about their racing exploits, and it's just a really, really nice paddock to be a part of. Yeah, absolutely, and the great thing is that what it also does is it the more they race with each other, the more it instills trust between a particular group of drivers. And that's where you generally tend to see a group of academy drivers that are kind of the front runners that will come through, whether it's a collective of drivers. Because in every Caterham Academy season, you do get one or two drivers that will drop off and just do the season, or then go and race elsewhere, or they'll say, right, I've had my fun racing in the academy, I'm going to move away and take a break or go do something else. But the core drivers that stay on from the academy genuinely stick together. And they do tend to go up together as a collective through Roadsport, then through 270R, then through 310R, and then steadily there's a bit of a drip feed of drivers that will move up into the top ranks or stay in 310R for a while or move on to a different challenge. But that's the great thing in terms of when you enter the Caterham Academy, you genuinely make friends, arguably for life, because you, or at least for your duration within Caterham racing circles. And I've known there are several drivers that I know I've been friends with who have been part of the same, well, I know paddocks have been part of the same academy group for the last that started back in the academy in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and occasionally one will go off and do something else and come back and race, and you get that collective of drivers, and that's where it instills that trust in the drivers. When they're racing wheel to wheel, it means that they know when they're racing together they can run close, they can run just that far away from coming into contact, but they can do it cleanly without a wing going off somewhere or a contact with someone hitting someone in the back. It's only in extreme circumstances when that happens. So that just shows how close the drivers are, and also how well knitted how close knit each academy group tends to be as it goes up the ranks. And then as they're all on the same paddock together, usually some drivers in one championship will stay on and watch other championships because they've got friends in other steps of the Caterham ladder. So it really is one big collective, and Caterham do make sure that it is a proper family atmosphere. They have, the lunch they put on every weekend. They have paddock parties in the evening as well. They get the drivers together and have a drink and a laugh with some food. It really is a proper weekend, proper like racing weekend away where you get to do it with your mates. I heard someone liken race meetings as kind of like it's like a forgive the slightly sort of gender-based term, but it's kind of a bit like a spa day out for men in many cases, where you get told where to go, you get told what to do, you get the benefit of having a race car that's pretty much mostly put together for yourself. You go and race and enjoy yourself, you pay £700, and then you go home again. It's a little bit similar to that in terms of cases. I heard that term, and
something to that effect. It's kind of it's not far from that truth. These guys really do come in just to have fun, to enjoy themselves with their friends, and ultimately live out any fancy, their ambitions of being a racing driver. And that's something which, in some cases, while it might be a monetary cost to it, the memories that will create from that, it's cheesy to say it, I know, but are genuinely priceless. It's fantastic. You get the memories and the friendships that carry on, not just whilst they're racing, but beyond that as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. And if it's not fun, there isn't really much point in doing it, is there? So that is definitely the ethos that Caterham go for when putting these championships together, and they continue to be run extremely well indeed. Whilst we've been waiting for the restart to happen, which I think is imminent now, the recovery work appears to be completed now up at Hawthorne. I did spot that Julian Roebuck, who was involved in that initial shunt at turn 1, his car's been pushed off the grid now and down the pit lane, so he doesn't look like he's going to be taking the restart. There it is, look, going down the pit lane. There's another car actually just ahead of it. Can't quite see the number on that one, but the 74 car most definitely will not be taking the start of the race then, or the restart of the race. Have we had a notification yet as to how long it's going to be? Oh, over the full 20 minutes. So it's going to be a full 20-minute restart. We must be running ahead of time for once, and that means that we have got time to get the full 20 minutes of racing action in, which is the right thing to do. It's the only race this weekend that the Academy drivers had. They paid their money, they want to get their money's worth, and so giving them the full race distance is absolutely the right way to go, especially since we hadn't, well, we were a lap and a half into the race, weren't we, really, when we got the red flag coming out. So it is going to be Harry George on that pole position, Charlie Lower alongside him. Just 73 one-thousandths of a second between those two in qualifying earlier on today. Giles Perry was a further tenth and a bit back, and then those three really had quite a pace advantage over the rest of the field. Gareth Lucas, fourth, was a full second further back, so the top three we'd expect to make a little bit of a break here, and as the green flag lap gets underway, we are now just one lap away from the resumption of the race, and there you can see the some of the midfield runners going through. Number 50 is Neil Perry, for example. It will be a slightly thinner grid then, unfortunately, that will take the restarted race. 3 different winners so far this year, 5 different drivers that have been on the podium, and that's pretty impressive given the fact we've only had 6 events, 5 of them races, one of them that sprint at Kerborough at the start of the season. It has been a very competitive season in the Caterham Academy White Championship, and yeah, wouldn't be at all surprised to see a few new drivers. Giles Perry, for example, looking for his first podium, and he's had podium pace so far this weekend. So another example, I think, of a driver coming on strong in the latter part of the season.
And that's the great thing, is that through the season, drivers will develop at different rates. And so some drivers where they've been a little bit off the pace initially, or they've been a little bit sort of tentative in getting started in their racing, once they find their feet and find their confidence, really it could be just a good result or even a good qualifying that. It's incredible how much that one small thing like a good lap or even a good apex in the corner or something can just spark a bit more confidence, and therefore it's almost like flicking a switch. Some drivers will go from being more tentative, a bit more careful, a bit more cautious, to then get their elbows out a bit more, feeling a bit more confident, having the car properly underneath them, being able to really push on and be able to get some strong results. And they can have a really good second half of the season that then sets them up for going forwards into Roadsport onwards. And then one thing is also notable is that some drivers will adapt and be favour different stages of the Caterham Motorsport ladder, where some drivers will thrive, for example, in the Academy and Roadsport. Then when they start to go into track sport with different suspension, that's old name, 270R and 310R with the newer suspension, the upgrades that come in and extra power, sometimes it doesn't really work in their favour, and it can be vice versa. Some drivers struggle in the Academy and Roadsport, then they start to find their feet with the newer suspension, the upgrades in 270 and 310. So different part stages of the Motorsport ladder can cater to different drivers. It's amazing how in one series they can be a little bit sort of off the pace a bit, but then in higher levels they can be straight on there. So it really is a bit of a difference depending on experience or just preference on how the car feels.
Yeah, no, exactly. It can be quite a big step up as well when you do move out of Academy into Roadsports, then particularly from Roadsports, as you said, into 270Rs. That's quite a step up, and again, some take to it pretty quickly. For others, it comes a bit more slowly to them. But there's definitely some talent on this Academy grid. There always is, and I have to say, it's testament to Caterham that they're able to get around 20 plus cars on each of the 2 Academy grids. That's 40 to 50 rookie drivers every season. I don't know where they keep finding them, but amongst them there are always some really, really talented ones.
Can't disagree with that. There are some brilliant drivers that do go on to some pretty brilliant things. We're about to see them do even more here in this restart, the full restart for the 20 minutes of the Lovecars Caterham Academy White Group. So Harry George and Charlie Lower will get to take 2 for their run down towards turn 1. Let's see who wins the whole shot this time. It's a better start from the inside the front row from Charlie Lower. Great start, in fact, a poor start from Harry George. You got jumped as well from the second row by both, I think, Giles Perry, and also from that second row of the grid it was
Gareth Lucas.
Gareth Lucas, yeah, as well as they turn in towards turn 1. A couple of cars again running wide over the gravel. They just managed to track their way through, so they seem to have got through relatively unscathed again. There's in the next to the car 97, I think it's James Moon, his car 78, that's Richard J. Ainscoe. And there has been a Richard Ainscoe before. They are related, but he goes by a nickname Rocco Ainscoe. So Rocco Ainscoe in car 78, watch for him in the top 10. Down towards the complex at Tower for the first time, and Charlie Lower does lead, but down back up the inside of Gareth Lucas, there goes the white car with the blue stripes of Harry George in towards Tower for the first time, and it's Charlie Lower who has to jump, and that was all due to effectively Harry George not getting the start he got the first time around, and it was advantage Charlie Lower with a great getaway from the front row of the grid. As they come back towards the back end of the circuit, it's now George doing the chasing rather than being the other way around, and Lower has the clear air going through the right hand at the complex of sunny in and sunny out.
Yeah, luckily for Harry George, though, he was able to get back into second place before Charlie had sort of escaped up the road. Once Charlie had broken the toe, he might not have been easy to catch given how equal their pace was in qualifying, these two. So for our sake, good news, because it means we've still got a race on our hands. Harry George is definitely not going to want to let Charlie get away here at the front of the field. So it is the 21 car then of Charlie Lower that leads the way. Both of them running very wide there through the right-hand element of the complex. On screen there we were seeing Giles Perry, who is fighting for his first podium in the category here, and he's about to be dumped down to the top 4 now, I think. As on the inside of him there, coming out of the hairpin, comes the number 8 car of Tom Noakes. So Giles Perry's second start, not quite as strong as his first. A couple of them actually struggling with that, weren't they? Perhaps having put the tyres through another heat cycle a little bit. Maybe it wasn't quite as easy to get the car off the line, but at the end of the first lap, it is almost a 1 second advantage then from Lower to George. So he's almost broken the toe, hasn't he?
Almost, and he's certainly trying to give it a go as he comes out through the S's and onto the back straight. So he has got that gap, and again, the further he can pull away, the less effective the toe will be, if at all, for Harry George. We're looking here at the car number 8, which is Tom Noakes. He's in 5th position in the top 5, just behind Giles Perry as they come back down. Now, there's a big move here up the inside of that. Is Benja Headley going up the inside of 42. Michael Banton, someone else behind, who's way out of shape, out of spin just behind them. It was just off camera, but I saw them getting all crossed up and out of shape. Do you know what? I almost want to say that's possibly Rocco Ainscoe, it might have been, but I'll have to wait and see. The game I like to play with that is spot the car that goes tumbling down the timing stream when they come past next time by. So we'll see who that was that had that spin, but he was way out of control. The car was all moving around in the background trying to get it stopped. So it wasn't quite the way he wanted to go through Tower Bend, but he's managed to get it going back in the right way. So in through, sunny in and sunny out they go. Still Michael Banton now ahead of Benja Headley in that blue car number 99. Just behind him is car 20 there, Mark Januszewski. That's a scrap going on for 6th down to 8th as the leaders come back into the complex. It's still Charlie Lower that leads it then. It's then Harry George in 2nd. 43 is Gareth Lucas. 71 is Giles Perry in the kind of the silver car with the fluorescent yellow wheel trim and the fluorescent yellow roll bars. 5th place is Tom Noakes. 6th now is Michael Banton. It's Headley and Januszewski in there as well. Here comes Banton trying to make a move on Noakes as they get the drag race down towards turn 1 again at the start of lap 3. First proper flying lap goes to the fastest lap of the race goes to Harry George. Only fractionally faster than Charlie Lower on that last lap. It was a 138.6 for Lower, 138.5 for George. So big slide there also just in front. That was for Giles Perry, I think. He's trying to make up some moves. No, sorry, that's Michael Banton who's going all over the place there. He's got past Tom Noakes into Clairvaux, but through Hawthorns, all out of shape. And now he's got just Tom Noakes and Benja Headley and Mark Januszewski chasing him down. And that's not a sight you want. You know, there's 3 cars bearing down on you in the back, down the back straight.
Down towards Tower they come then, which is the spot at which Simon Patel got it wrong a lap ago. He was the spinner under-braking into the right-hander. He has rejoined, but all the way down in 12th place, lost a couple of places as a result of that. Sideways out of the right-hander. 10-second penalty, meanwhile, for car number 78. That is Richard Ainscoe, who we were just talking about. 10-second penalty this early in the race has to be something to do with the start procedure, either a jump start or an out-of-position start. They haven't done enough laps for him, surely, to have picked up a 10-second track limits penalty. If he has, that's some good going in a way, but no, I'm pretty sure that will be something amiss with his start procedure, which is a bit of a shame. Fastest lap then to Harry George, but only fractionally quicker, wasn't it? About 3.5 hundredths of a second quicker than Charlie Lower. So So again, going to show just how evenly matched these two are. There was less than a tenth of a second between them in qualifying, and it looks similar now, although I'd say, Scott, as they come towards the end of this lap, the gap is a bit smaller than that.
Yeah, definitely. If you look at it visible on the camera, if we see it on the shot, he's definitely close, and he will get close on the run down towards Clairvaux, on the run to try and get towards turn 1 quickest. In behind them for third place, as Harry George now sets another new fast lap of the race. He was 6/10 quick on that last lap, so that confirms the pace that he's got. He's now got quite a gap, 1.8 seconds now over Gareth Lucas in third position. Giles Perry is close with him, about 7/10 back in fourth. We're looking here at Tom Noakes battling away with the 20 car of Mark Januszewski. Benja Headley's in there as well. Michael Banton, who was at the head of this group literally a lap ago, is now at the back of it. So it's all changed around again with Noakes in 5th position, Januszewski 6th, Headley 7th, and Michael Banton, who was down in 8th position, now back down to 5th. As now at the inside from the lead goes Harry George into Tower, but sticking around the outside is Charlie Lowe. He's going to try and hold on as much as he can. Charles Perry, meanwhile, has gone to 3rd up the inside of Gareth Lucas. All sorts going on behind him as well. This is the battle for 5th to 8th. I think Benja Headley came out of that, but there's a big cloud of dust and all sorts was going on there. It's kind of everyone tried to be 5th at the same point at the same corner, and it just didn't work out for any of them.
Yeah, one of them dived up the inside. It was possibly Januszewski, and then he got it all wrong coming through the apex, almost clattered into the side of the car to his outside. Miraculously, all kept going, and I don't think there was ever any contact. That was
car in the barriers, and that's down at Hawthorns by the looks of it. So that's the second time we've had drama there. Now, who that is? I was about to say it might be Louise Deason. I was about to say, because I was going to take a small guess at that. As now we see the leaders come back into the complex. I was watching this battle that's still going on here for 4th and 5th position. I fear, though, with the position where that car is, it might well be a safety car, which it is. Safety car has been deployed. The RunYourFleet.com Jaguar safety car is out on track, and that means for the, I think literally the first time, no, not the first time today, but the first time in a catering race today, the safety car is out.
Yeah, I think you might be right with that, actually. So the RunYourFleet.com Jaguar safety car, which I got a ride in this morning, actually, finally, after asking all season long. Very impressive, very comfortable. Even got to turn the lights on and off. I was like being a kid again. Anyway, point is, very nice car, and nice to have it here, and nice to have RunYourFleet.com supporting the BRSCC once again, or for the first time this season, I should say. Much as we don't like seeing safety cars, the RunYourFleet.com Jaguar safety car has definitely attracted a lot of attention this season. It's back out on track now, then leading the field past the incident zone there through Hawthorn, and hopefully this won't take too long. It's just one car that needs to be removed, so we would hope that could be quite a quick recovery. What does this mean for the race then? Well, not a huge amount for the top two, really, because Lower and George were battling away for the lead anyway, weren't they? What it does do is it allows Giles Perry, who has just taken that 3rd place back away from Gareth Lucas, to close back in on them. So we know that Giles, in qualifying at least, had the pace to go with those top two, but he'd just become detached from them in the early stages after not a brilliant restart. So now he gets another bite at the cherry here to maybe not only try and get that first podium of the season, but maybe challenge for his first win.
Yeah, and just to confirm as well, sadly, we expected it was Louise Deason that went off. It is Louise Deason, because the only other car that's running, it hasn't crossed the line yet, is David Saxby, who I think is running at a reduced pace for some reason, for whatever reason. He's running slower towards the start of the race anyway. There's not really any evident damage on the back of the car, but there is Louise walking back, sadly. So her weekends come to a premature end after the restart, after the short, was it 1 lap, and then she only lasted, I think it was the 4 laps that we did until she sadly hit the barriers. So, but she's still walking on her own steam. That's the main thing. She'll go to the medical centre as well, just to make sure that she is perfectly okay. Get quickly checked over by the chief medical officer for this weekend. So quick check on the order then, just to kind of confirm where we are then. So Charlie Lower then leads the race haven't hit halfway yet, we've still got 11.25 minutes to go in this white group race for the Lovecars Caterham Academy. Harry George is 2nd, from Giles Perry in 3rd, Gareth Lucas is 4th, and Benja Headley rounds out the top 5 at this point in time. 6th is Michael Banton, 7th is Mark Januszewski, 8th is Tom Noakes. He slipped back from what was 5th at that point after that huge melee up at Tower Bend. Then it's 9th place for another of the Perrys, car 50, that is Neil Perry. So there's 2 drivers in Perry Centre. I don't know if they're related, but Neil Perry in car 50 is currently in 9th position. Then it's the number 97 car, James Moon, in P10. It's Simon Patel in 11th place. Rocco Ainscough, who's got that 10-second penalty for, we believe, a jump start. Because we had the information come up on the screen just briefly. Then it's the 55 of Graham Walker, who's currently in 13th place. 14th is car 23, which is Alan Bateman, and then David Saxby, who's running at that reduced pace for some particular reason around this race. He's been lapping at least even behind the car that's just in front of him, 8-10 seconds off the pace, which is rather odd, I thought. But he's back in 15th place, and the last car was still running because, as we see, Louise Deason sadly has retired from the race, but she's still walking around up okay, so that's the main thing. She appears to be okay, but she will get checked over just to make sure.
Yes, so Louise then our first retirement, well not first retirement of the restarted race then, but at least you can watch the rest of the race unfold from up at Clervaux, which is a brilliant place to go and watch the racing. There's a grandstand up there which a lot of spectators have been making use of, and provides a brilliant view of basically the entire first half of the circuit, but certainly that opening complex of corners where there's always drama, and that's certainly proved to be the case today. We've got 9.5 minutes to go then, and the field being led by Charlie Lower then, who at the moment is set to outscore Harry George, and so provisionally move into the points lead then, I presume. It's going to be interesting to see how the drop scores are affected by William James's absence, of course, but certainly Harry and Charlie will move ahead of him on total points. Which way round they are, though, awaits to be seen. There have been 2 victories each for those two, Harry and Charlie. Harry took his at Knock Hill and Brands Hatch, whereas Charlie was a winner at Kerborough in the sprint, and then got his first race win at Silverstone a few weeks ago, a month or so ago now. But as far as consistency is concerned, Harry George has had the more consistent season, because as well as those 2 wins, he's also had 3 third-place finishes, whereas Charlie Lower has been off the podium twice this season, including a slightly disappointing 7th-place finish, which he had in the first race up at Knock Hill. That's a challenging circuit to learn in your debut season of racing. So that, at the moment, is his drop score, whereas Harry George is dropping a few more points, his worst finish being a 5th place finish at the first race of the season at Mallory Park. Giles Perry, as I said, looking for his first podium. He's had a couple of top 5s, but yet to finish inside the top 3. And this safety car possibly helps his chances of keeping hold of that 3rd place, because he was having a really good battle, wasn't he, with Gareth Lucas before the safety car came out. We were enjoying watching it, but I'm sure Charles has been quite grateful, having taken that 3rd place, that he's been able to have a bit of a breather and hopefully consolidate that podium place.
Fingers crossed he can. He'll get a chance to do that in a moment's time, because the safety car lights are out on the runyourfleet.com Jaguar safety car. There it goes through the shot, and it will make its way back to pit lane. Meanwhile, there is a bit of a gap, because it's now Charlie Lower's turn to resume the role of basically temporary safety car. He now heads the pack, and he now decides when to get this race back underway again. He will choose when to pull the pin, put his foot to the floor, and get this race back underway. Just on the exit of the other complex, that's when he's gone. So out as the safety car makes his way deep into pit lane, into the hairpin for the restart goes Charlie Lower. A good jump on Harry George, it seems. Charlie's trying to go with him on the exit of the hairpin, but Charlie Lower leads the pack across the line and back underway here in the Caterham Academy Championship in the white group. So Lower leads then, George in 2nd place, Giles Perry 3rd, Gareth Lucas 4th, and Benja Headley rounding out the top 5. Michael Bantley 6th, 7th place. Oh, that's a bit of bodywork that came off Charlie Lower's car. I think that's one of his wings came off by that ring. I didn't see him clip anything, but again, we know that exit curve of Sun Yao has been collecting wings, so to speak, when of the cars running wide. That's such a steep drop off the exit of that corner, so I wonder whether he's done that, or I don't think it was contact with anyone, because he didn't have contact with Harry George. They've been battling, but I don't think they've touched. But either way, at least his car's a little bit lighter than it was before. Not as aerodynamic, but it's a little bit lighter in many cases. But as Lower heads into the right hand at Tower Bend with George on his tail, as it was, although commentators curse, wide at the exit of Tower Bend, runs too deep, and straight back through into Harry George. I should probably keep my mouth shut on that 6 minutes ago, shouldn't I? Because I've just cursed him going out this through Tower Bend. So yes, Harry George now leads. Charlie Lower's back on his tail in 2nd place. Giles Perry in 3rd and watching on. But now, lead change on the first lap of this restart, and Charlie Lower will try and get it back as soon as he can.
Yeah, this has brought Giles Perry onto their tail as well. I was about to say they were gapping the 3rd place car already, but as they round Sunny now, you can see in the background there, look, the 3rd place man getting away from Gareth Lucas in 4th and trying to chase after the top 2, who could be side by side again into the complex here. Up the inside goes Charlie Lower, he's sideways, but off goes the race leader. Oh, I don't believe it. Harry George gets it all wrong coming into the complex. He gets back onto the circuit into 3rd place. That gives the lead back then to Lower. It gives Perry 2nd place, and now he might lose 3rd place as well. Going into the hairpin, because diving up the inside there went Gareth Lucas, and Lucas is still leaning on him a bit as they come out of the hairpin, banging wheels then. Shake of the fist there from Harry George, who's not going to be pleased with any of that. His mistake, or the rather robust driving from Lucas coming through the hairpin, but all in all, it has dropped him out of the podium places, and that was just a mistake under pressure. The attack came from Lower into the complex, and Harry just outbraked himself.
quite ironic, it was mistakes from the top two that not only lost Charlie Lowe the lead, and then a mistake from not long after from Harry George lost him the lead after he'd taken it as a result of Charlie Lowe's mistake. So back in the lead goes Charlie, and now he's got a new pursuer for the form of Giles Perry in car 71. As for Harry George, he's trying to get back down the outside of Gareth Lucas, who defends the inside line, but George will try and go around the outside or will look for the cutback through Tower Bend. Also trying to close in now is Benja Headley. Good restart for him up to 5th position, and he's going to try and squeeze in as well, looking at some of his best results as they come up through the Jim Clark S's now on this second restart. Benja's best start after he's back in the points, his best finish has been a 3rd place, and that was back at Mallory Park at the season opener for the circuit races. He needs to try and get himself in the mix, and he can get 3rd place if he can work his way past George and then Gareth Lucas and stay close in this second collective, as the top two are trying to break away early doors here. You see Lower and Perry trying to pull away now as quickly as possible. There on screen, if you're watching on the stream, is Lucas versus George. They're just off shot. There's going to be Benja Headley just in the mix as well. So top 5 coming through the complex together. The rest of the top 10 is got Banton 6th, Januszewski 7th, Noakes, Moon and Perry. Lots of sideways action. Michael Banton's out wide in the background. If you're hearing that on the microphones of the camera, there's cars going sideways all over the place. Rocco Ainscough going sideways as well. That's off camera. What's watching on here is a bit more tidy battle for 3rd and 4th position. Charlie Lower, now that he's been freed from the pursuit of Harry George, he's pursuing Harry George. He's now got the fastest lap of the race on a 1 minute 38.006. Meanwhile, Gareth Lucas looks back round the outside to defend with 3rd place. Harry George makes it stick, and Gareth Lucas just went too deep, too wide, 2 wheels onto the gravel. A good not Irene, he's gone.
That was never going to work. He could never get that car stopped, and you're on the outside line, which is the dirty side of the road as well, and just so little grip out there, and having fully committed, he was unfortunately only ever going to end up in 1 place there. They're just lapping, by the way, the slightly slow car that is at the back of the field, so that's going to be potentially problematic. David Saxby, that was, that the leaders were just negotiating, and as they drop into the right-hander at Tower Corner, there's Tom Noakes. Up ahead there's a car on the grass. There was another car that seemed to be exiting stage left there, which I think Tom has just overtaken, and then a bit of squeezing going down towards the Jim Clark S's. That's not a nice place to be squeezed onto the grass. It benefited Noakes though. He got himself up ahead of the 97 of James Moon there, and might have been Januszewski then that was running wide in the 20 car just ahead of them. I think he's possibly the 3rd car in this group, just out of shot at the moment. So they head through Sunny. The leaders are at the complex then. Leader getting away really now. Charlie Lower certainly seems to have a bit of an advantage over Giles Perry, who's still going to be really happy with 2nd place if he can hang on to it for another 2.5 minutes. The question is though, can the 3rd and 4th place cars close in at all? What can Harry George do as well, as far as his pursuit of getting back into the top 3?
He's got quite a gap to make up, and of course he's got some 1 point to get the gap to come across the line. So George has 2.2 seconds to make up, but he's got to do it in 2 minutes and 20 seconds, which I'm not quite certain he's going to be able to do. You spotted something, Mr. McEwen.
Yes, because Gareth Lucas hasn't come through on the timing.
He was the one that had the spin at Clairvaux.
Yes. That was at least a minute ago, that stint. I've forgotten about that already. Yes, you're quite right.
So Gareth Lucas has recovered. He's back down 11th, so he's managed to get back going again. So unscathed, but just the only thing he's hurt is just his own pride. So meanwhile, looking here on screen, this is car 20, and that is Januszewski, who's up into 4th place. His best result so far this season has been 8th, so if he can get this, it'll be by far his best result, although Benja Headley might have something to say about that. Up the inside he goes, and up into 4th position he takes, although Januszewski will try and get him back. So I suspect that Headley was the one that made the initial mistake. Januszewski went off a bit in sympathy, and that's brought Headley back in the mix, because he was up there with the top 3 battling with Harry George. So looks like Januszewski's rolled him back in again, and now they're going to fight over the best of the rest in 4th position. Although in that sort of sequence, it looked as though that Januszewski backed off a little bit through the Jim Clark S and said lost a few car lengths to Benja through the right-hander at Sunny Inn. A little wide there on the first part of the apex for Sunny Inn. Through Sunny Out, it's much better this time. Not too far away is Michael Banton in 6th, having a strong run. Tom Noakes is also there in 7th. There's the leaders. Charlie Lower holding on from Giles Perry with 1 minute and 4 to go. So next time by will be the last lap. Harry George is trying to close back in 3rd place. Then for 4th, 5th and 6th altogether. So 3 cars battling for the lead, 3 cars battling for 4th. So go on to the last lap of the race. One more time around the Croft Circuit. Let's see if Charlie Lower can hold on, or if either Giles Perry or even Harry George can do anything about it on this final lap.
Well, the gap between the top 2 certainly stayed static that time. That's just over a second now between Lower and Perry, and they head through Clairvaux Corner now. It is that 3rd, 4th, 5th place battle, isn't it, really? Headley, Januszewski and Banton then showing in those places. So Harry George then is slipping down the timing screens now. Is that a transponder issue? No, he's still there, isn't he? The 17 car.
Transponder issue,
yeah,
I think.
That's. I thought I'd forgotten something else then, but no, he is definitely still there in third place. It's fourth place that is the battle, and they're side by side as they head down the back straight now. Then defensive line on the inside being taken by Mark Januszewski, but it's not quite going to work as around the outside of them then goes Headley to reclaim that fourth place. The leaders, though, are heading up through the Jim Clark S's for the final time. And I think, Scott, that our podium places are pretty much set now.
Yep, this will be, looking on the results from earlier in the season, it will be the second win. It'll be the second win of the season for Charlie Lowe. He won the sprint at Kerbera, which was a sprint event rather than a circuit race. He won the race. He won the Porsche. Oh, his car has gone wide on the exit of Tower Bend. It's further back, I think, in about the 6th or 7th position. One car also, I think, with a bit of damage further back, but he's won the sprint race at Kerbera. He also won the white group portion of the Silverstone Grand Prix race on the combined grid. And Charlie Lowe, as he turns his way now out through the complex and into the hairpin for the final time, is going to take his second victory, his first standalone race victory, because of course it was combined grid at Silverstone. He heads out of the final corner, up to the checkered flag, and victory will go to Charlie Lowe in the white group for the Lovecars Caterham Academy. Cross the line to take the win. Second place in his best result of the season is Giles Perry. As for Harry George, he will have to be satisfied with third place. His first third place in the season after he's finished on the podium first and second. Then it's Benja Headley picking up fourth, a season's best result for Mark Januszewski to take fifth position. He'll be delighted with that. Michael Banton in sixth position, seventh place for Giles Perry, Neil Perry, eighth for Tom Noakes, ninth for James Moon, and Simon Patel will round out the top 10. And also, I think Simon Patel was a bit agreed. I think he might have been the driver that went off wide at Tower Bend, finishing in the 10th position. Rocco Ainscoe is 11th place, and it's Gareth Lucas, after he had that spin up at Clairvaux battling with Harry George, he will finish in 12th. Then it will be Graham Walker, followed by Alan Bateman and David Saxby. He really has been quite off the pace in 15th place for reasons whether it's just his own individual pace or whether it's simply just mechanical issues. Either way, not as fast as he would like to have been, but well done to all of our Caterham Academy drivers for surviving that race, and of course they'll go off for their season finale in terms of their main championship. That will take place at Snetterton, where they will have two races to round off the season, two more races left to go, both being a double header. And we're going to head to the championship results, to the race results on the stream. So just for the record for those watching, Charlie Lowe then takes the provisional victory here at Croft in the white group for the Caterham Academy. Giles Perry is second, Harry George third, then Benja Headley fourth, and Mark Januszewski rounds out the top five ahead of Michael Banton, Neil Perry, Tom Noakes, James Moon and Simon Patel. 11th place for Rocco Ainscoe, then it's Gareth Lucas, Graham Walker, Alan Bateman and David Saxby. And sadly from that restarted race we lost Louise Deason after she went off into the tyres up at Hawthorns. And of course we lost a few cars from that first start when there was an incident in the first couple of laps. So that's one Caterham Academy race done. The second one's coming up as our last race of today. Our penultimate race of the weekend is coming up next. That's going to be our second visit from the Nankang Tyre City Car Cup. Watch out for that coming up very shortly. For those on the Caterham stream, we're going to take a short break before your final race of the day for the other Caterham Academy group for the Greens. Otherwise, stay tuned on the BRCC stream. We have our City Car Cup action coming up very shortly as well as trackside here at Croft Circuit. Stay tuned, more of that on the way.